evidence-based. They've pushed the innovation and the limit of what's possible in each generation. Jack invented the wetsuit basically through his love and wanting people to be able to experience the ocean for longer. Now people are able to spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in the water doing what they love and pushing themselves to new limits. I think it's extremely important for the people inside the company to be able to test these products, and they do. They live, eat, sleep, breathe these products. I think the most important thing about a wetsuit to me is its flexibility. TB3 just absolutely blew my mind. It was just so many leagues ahead of what I expected. I was in awe. I was warmer than ever, more flexible than ever. Everything that I'd worn before, till now, was just irrelevant. The bar's been set really high. I'm super excited to be able to see what's actually next and where do they go. I mean, my mind's pretty baffled at the moment, but I mean, where do you go next?
You can never determine who you are by what you do. Because if it gets taken away, then who are you? Just stay true to who you are, and if they don't like it, stuff that.
This looks different.
It is. See for yourself.
Okay, so it's a photo.
Look closer. Photos within photos.
What about video?
8K video. Beyond cinema. You can pull portrait quality photos straight from video.
But will it last the whole trip?
Battery for the whole trip and the way back.
This is different.
Told you.
My circumstances do not define me, I define me.
All the beach and surf action live from the Ballito Pro presented by O'Neill. A first on People's Weather. 17 to 19 December, 11 a.m. daily.
It is a warm summer greetings as you join us down here in beautiful Ballito Bay in the Ilembe region of South Africa. Surfing friends and fans, we're stoked to be back here. Gig Saliers alongside multiple national champion Tashmin Testi. We're going to be talking all things surfing and particularly crowning a women's champion in the Ballito Pro 2021 today.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. And a new champion at the Ballito Pro, our defending champion Sarah Baum, unable to make it to South Africa. So we're going straight into the semi-finals of the ladies division, a QS 1000 WSL sanctioned event. And I'm really excited to see what's coming up.
Tesh, you've been here almost a week, right? It's been a big set of festivities again. Ballito, of course, welcoming back post-pandemic. Great to have everybody back, the WSL back in action here on the Ballito coastline. But you guys started a whole week off with national championships. There's been crowning of rookie rippers. It's been quite a week of festivities and surfing.
Yeah, it's been a big week for surfing, a big week for South Africa, especially now summer holidays. We had our first ever South African surfing champs take place in Ballito in the Ilembe district, so it was quite historic. The 55th edition, and a local boy, Shane Sykes, taking that men's title. So there's a lot of festivities, but there's also a lot of great surfing, and we've had swell throughout the event, and we've still got new swell for the semi-finals.
So, Tash, you make a good point there. The fact of the matter is we're normally here in the month of July,
yes,
our midwinter. We can boast about those conditions then. Ballito boasts that subtropical climate where the days are warm, but the nights get that chill. We get that katabatic drainage, that offshore wind. But we come back in summer this year. We're offset by 6 months on the calendar, and Ballito has not been disappointing. The waves have been amazing, highly contestable, and the sandbars in place. And the good news, there's still more surf on the forecast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking really good towards the end of the week. We did get the girls started yesterday. We're finishing today because we have got a new ground swell that's arrived in Ballito, and also a big wind. But it's the swell that we want, and the free surfing was great this morning, Gigs.
Well, of course, every surfer hangs on those swell charts. You have a look at image on screen. We are expecting more south swell into this part of the east coast of South Africa. Of course, it's been highly contestable up till now. We're crowning the women's champion today in the QS 1000 format, and then of course there's still the men's draw to get stuck into. So forecasts look favourable. We look over the next 3 days. We're into the full moon springs. That's always a good thing on this part of the world. And as you can say, as you mentioned, there's swell on the way, and definitely we're going to crown champion today, and we're going to have some head-eye conditions for the ladies.
Yeah, and I think quite cool conditions. You know, it's quite chunky. There's big sections to hit. All 4 semi-finalists are not scared to go hard. So we're going to see some great surfing from the ladies. Stick around. The Ballito Pro, presented by O'Neill.
It's going to be great. So, bottom line is this, okay? If we look at our 4 competitors that we've come down to, okay? Semi-1.
Sure.
Heather Clark. So much to talk about with her experience. Up against what we are toting as the rising star of South African women's surfing, Zoe Steyn. So that's going to be a hard one to pick, okay? Then having a look at that second semi, local Sophie Bell. She's going to be coming with all of that knowledge of the lineup. And then we saw her get a good result in the O'Neill Smith Shapes Rookie Rippers, young Sarah Scott out of Cape Town. So it's 2 quite contrasting and 2 quite different stories to tell when we get to semi-finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also going to be the battle of the goofy footers in semi-final number 1, the battle of the natural footers in semi-final number 2, which is going to make it exciting as well. I've been enjoying the goofy footers out there. They're really getting tight in that pocket, throwing their board underneath them. And then the natural footers are able to get ahead of the wave a little bit. So it's going to be exciting. The girls were surfing this morning. They've been out there testing it out, letting organisers just check out what's happening. And the call has been made. We will be starting.
We're going to get competition underway. We did start yesterday morning with a full field of 20. Let's go have a quick look back at yesterday's action. Well, a look at the action from yesterday's Ballito Pro opening rounds and through to the quarterfinals. We managed to narrow the field right down. Tash, outside of our 4 semi-finalists remaining, Heather Clark, Zoe Stein, Sophie Bell, and young Sarah Scott, looking back at those quarterfinals, looking back at that round of 16, a couple of names that aren't on finals day. What are you thinking? I mean, I'm a little disappointed Natasha van Groenen's not in this final 4. I felt that she kind of fell out, and all credit to Sarah Scott for getting past her in that quarterfinal. But you look at the rest of the field, the talent. What are we seeing in South African women's surfing at the moment?
Yeah, well, South African women's surfing is just growing, and we've seen, I mean, we've had a big gap with the pandemic, but they've come back with just much stronger, much more critical, almost more mature with their surfing. And you are right, it would have been great to see Natasha van Groenen in the semis. I know that she had a big goal for this QS 1000. And a technical error that cost her yesterday, really, with giving up her priority and allowing Sarah Scott to find the small score that she needed. But it's just amazing to be able to see these youngsters coming up. Sarah Scott, our under-16 South African surfing champion, and 15 years old, out here.
Great stories to tell for South African surfing, and it's all being showcased here at the Ballito Pro 2021. Competition is underway. Seeing that the contest organisers have set out 30-minute heats here, Tash. So you see the clock top left of screen. It will come back to screen shortly. A 30-minute clock, the countdown. Surfers need to get their 2 best rides to the judging panel, and judges will be using that scoring system of 0 through 10. Not sure if we're going to see any 10-point rides, but we know that Zoe Stein's already gone into the excellent category, and then we introduce our 2 semi-finalists, a contrast of extremes, and we'll get the opening ride of the Ballito Pro Women's semi-final underway. A quick wave for Zoe Stein, now just 18 years of age. She just turned 18 a month ago, Tash, and she already has won a national open women's title at the age of 16. So we know that Zoe Stein is on her way to some surfing greatness in the future. It's just a matter of getting her all the way to the top of the sport. And, well, here's another sort of rung for her to climb.
Yeah, you're so right. Zoe actually making history in South African surfing by being the youngest woman to win an SA Open surfing title at the age of 16. I think Heather actually won her first title in 2018. I mean, at 18 years old. And okay, so my apologies there. So Heather Clark winning a title very young, but Zoe Stein being the youngest woman to win a South African Open surfing title at the age of 16. That was in 2018. And she's didn't compete at SA Open Surfing Champs. She's really wanted to focus on the QS and the JQS, and she took the JQS title for the Rookie Rippers 2 days ago. So leading into this contest with a lot of confidence and wanting the win.
Well, on screen, Heather Clark needs no introduction. Surf fans around the world will recognize her name. She's almost the patron queen of South African surfing. And, of course, Heather has been, well, she's been at this for decades, literally. Now, say that respectively, she has just turned 50 years of age and finds herself in a semi-final stage of competition. Had a little chat to her pre-event as well, Tash, and she is actually quite fired up. I was a little bit taken aback by how determined she is to get a result here.
Yeah, fiery competitor. She also didn't have a great result at SA Champs, which started off the Ballito Pro Beach Festival. So she wants to come back. She's got something to prove. And, you know, she really is not just a legend, but a really humble surfer. She's got a lot of time for all us girls here in South Africa and wanting something to prove. But live action here, and this is her first wave, second wave of the heat. And, you know, I was also chatting to her this morning, and her age means nothing. She's looking really good. She's looking fit. She's got an active surf school down in St. Mark's on the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal, so in the water daily, and mixing it up here with our future talent.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a great contrast of stories as well. The young talent Zoe Stein into her semi-final here at the Ballito Pro, just 18 years of age. Of course, Heather Clark with all that mercurial experience, 14 years in total at the highest level of the sport. Heather Clark, of course, a Triple Crown champion back in 2000, Tash. Lots to talk about for Heather Clark as she has a little look at this. She is our surfer in blue. No real breakout scores at this stage. As we mentioned, contest organisers setting out 30 minutes. It is an incoming tide here this morning. We are on a spring low as we see Heather Clark trying to find her way around a section. It's going to be an interesting heat as far as wave selection goes. Tash, you've surfed Ballito many times under these circumstances. This is our blustery southerly wind that's come through. This is going to usher in a whole new period of groundswell. But it's still head high out there for the ladies. We're going to crown a champion here by midday today, local time right now, just after 10 a.m. here in Ballito, South Africa. If you are watching from around the world, we love having everybody just understand what a beautiful coastline it is that we're situated with, and particularly Ballito. I know that every year up until 2019, when the planet's momentum was disrupted, it's almost one of the favourite stops for a lot of the surfers on the global campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Slightly different with the summer festival that we've got, but July is peak winter in South Africa, and that's when the entire coastline turns on. And we're on the east coast of South Africa, so based in KwaZulu-Natal. It's the land of the right, they always say. But Gigs, what we've been seeing out here over the last week, the sandbank has shifted a little bit more to the middle of the competition area. So if you're looking at your screen on the right-hand side, where you have a big crop of rocks out the back, and that sand is usually sitting from there and running across. The sandbank has now moved into the middle. So what that's doing is, like you can see with these girls, there's a left opportunity that's coming up.
Absolutely. And both goofy footers, you kind of like make note of that. Listen, you would think that most of Heather Clark and Zoe Stain's results would have come off their backhand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're both very happy to go into the wind. It's going to be a great topic tomorrow when we get to men's surfing as well. We still see similar conditions on offer for tomorrow. Bit of a grey sort of look to the picture. It is overcast skies here, but it is midsummer. It's a warm, humid, overcast day as people flock down to the beaches here. A public holiday here in South Africa, December 16th, does signal the start of the official Christmas holidays. And the town of Ballito already bustling and bursting at the seams as people flock their way down to the holiday town. And of course, what a good place to hang out. No, all time of year, Tash. I mean, we speak of the weather, we boast of it in winter, but Ballito really has become an economic boom town in the KZN district, and of course, a year-round holiday destination.
Yeah, year-round we've got the Indian Ocean, nice warm water, so that must be, about 77 degrees Fahrenheit, about 23 degrees Celsius, the warm water. You might not think that if you look at the screen, you can see the lady in blue, Heather Clark, in a full suit. But speaking to her earlier, she was saying, Tash, I'm more comfortable in a suit and I'm going to stick to what makes me feel comfortable.
Let's have a look at Zoe Stain here, live action as she goes and uses that left, gets a hook in the top corner. Little error from Zoe Stain, so still no breakout scores here in semi-final number 1 of the Ballito Pro 2021. The experience of Heather Clark, the upcoming talent of Zoe Stain makes for a great story. I'll have a look what Heather picks out of the lineup. She's going to switch to her backhand, second wave of the set. And this one is a little bit broken, not really getting that board out of second gear here. So the judges are not going to be over-thrilled with that exchange. Still plenty of time, 22 minutes to go. And Tash, you feel that at some stage, I'd say in the next 3 to 4 minutes, one of these surfers is going to find one of those big closeout sections on the backhand.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, Heather choosing to get that second wave of the set. It was just gone full low tide. I think it was just around 9 o'clock. So we've gone through that low tide. We've got water pushing back onto the sandbank. But it is very shallow, Gigs. So when you're out there on that full low tide, you're probably in knee-deep water. And it slams and almost bounces you. And we've seen a lot of girls in the quarters as well as the round of 16 incomplete final maneuvers because instead of compressing themselves through that bump, they were actually literally just taking it and wiping out, unfortunately.
A lot of power in the ocean here. It is deep out the back there. You see the jet ski on screen. I would say that is at least 12 to 15 meters deep out there. So it's about 50 feet of depth. We are on a bit of the coastal shelf here has got quite a steep drop off out the back. So this zone, often compared with the power of Hawaii, you can call days at Ballito very similar to Rocky Point on the north shore of Hawaii. And certainly with the sandbanks in place, as you've mentioned, a day or two of grooming southerly winds as we see today, I'm expecting some tube riding by the time we get to the men's side of discussion still coming up over the coming days.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be exciting. I went surfing yesterday afternoon when that wind dropped and that sand is moving. Those banks are looking good. And, you know, this west wind that we've got blowing at the moment, just creating a bit of a chop. So not as clean as what we would have liked to have seen to start this morning. And that's why we've been able to put it on hold and wait for the tide to turn. But I'm just excited. I mean, it's just amazing to be back here and be involved with the Ballito Pro, and to be able to have a stage like this and see what the girls have been doing has been incredible. And to see the youngsters coming through and then still having legends like Heather Clark showing up. I mean, she didn't need to show up, but here she is in the semi-finals.
Yeah, it's a great story. Zoe Steyn up and riding again, the young 18-year-old out of Buffalo City, the East London area. She doesn't find much on that as well. Now, just to make note, Zoe Steyn has been working very, very close in parallel with the Olympic silver medalist coach, Greg Emsley. Of course, a huge story for our sport of surfing in 2021, the Tokyo Olympics featuring skating and surfing. So we're going to see a big cultural shift in the respect of the sports over the coming years. And, of course, Greg Emsley coaching our very own South African Bianca Buitendijk, our only surfer that participated in the Olympics. And of course, it's a great story, not only for women's surfing, but for South African sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a great ambassador is Bianca Buitendijk. You know, with working with Greg, I've been very fortunate to work with him, not just from a surfing point of view, but as well as from an assistant coach with South African junior teams. Zoe Steyn, that's her first coach, her only coach. They work really well together. And Greg, a former championship tour surfer, he knows what she needs to do to be able to get to that elite level. And looking good out there. I mean, I saw them this morning. Zoe's first one out in the water, always. Greg's on the beach. It's quite amazing.
So we're welcoming people on the Ballito TV platform to coverage of the Ballito Pro 2021. We're right here in Willard Beach. If you're in the greater Ballito area, pop down, come and say hi to us over the next up-and-coming days. And, of course, out in the water just to further explain what is happening. Surfers can catch as many rides as they want. They are scored on their maneuvers just like that. So that was a good slice in the lip for the experience of Heather Clark. Again, going left. So we're seeing surfers going in both directions here in semi-final number one. And just to welcome those people on Ballito TV. And for a lot of them, they won't really know surfing as a sport. Down here on holiday, they've plugged on the vision, and we'll break down what is required. You see both surfers standing with their right foot forward. We call that the goofy foot stance. And this is young Zoe Steyn, as she too will almost copycat Heather Clark there. So both surfers, both goofy footers going left into the southerly wind. And kind of similar scores. We're going to see, we'll try and bring some replays of that, because now the judges have now basically got to dissect and find a point of difference and give scores to both of those rides.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of hard to set your scale. It's first heat of the day. So trying to get that scale right. But we're going to cut through to a replay here. This is the first ride from Heather, the first ride of consequence, really. So she gets her board up and over the lip and able to ride out of it. But watch Zoe Steyn here. Lots more speed and a lot cleaner through that turn. Much more control. So you can see the point of difference coming. Heather Clark earning a 3.33 for that ride, and Zoe Steyn finding a 4.83, and that's the point of difference, Gigs.
So great comparison of rides there. Sees almost a 1.5 difference. Both surfers going same direction, both surfers attacking the lip, but judges going on a higher value with Zoe Steyn, cleaner maneuver, exited the turn with more speed. And that's leans towards the discussion of the criteria, of what the judges are wanting to see, what makes exciting surfing, clean, powerful maneuvers with speed, trim, flow, all of those things. And this is an experienced judging panel. They do this for a living. They get to travel. Our head judge is Jono Hutchinson doing head judge. Would imagine he is. He's got all that experience. He's traveled around the world. They know those nuances and details. So a lot of people will look at the sport, for the first time, and it's almost like within one heat they'll start getting what is a higher score versus a lower score, what is more critical and radical surfing, and really just that wow factor. We want to see exciting things from our surfers.
Yeah, you're looking for flair as well. So Heather really strong. She's got very committed turns, but you can see with Zoe on that previous wave, she just had more flair to her turn. And that's what the judges are looking for. It's not part of the criteria.
And often the telltale is how much spray is flying out the bottom of the board, right? So both surfers having a look here. We saw Heather go left, now changing the direction. Top turn in the back on the backhand for Zoe Steyn, who's already leading the heat by that margin of 1.7. So judges using the scale 0 through 10. Every single wave is scored, but the computer system, which is constantly updating, will extract the very top 2 scores for each athlete, make a comparison, and then put it into the context of what you see top left of screen. So with that exchange, judges quite quick on that. And it looks like a pair of 2s for that exchange. We're all waiting for one more score to drop. Let's just see that backhand turn. What are we thinking, Tash, from the last backhand turn? Judges still holding onto an opinion on that. They haven't thrown a score.
So taking a look here, here's the replay. So nice and strong off the top, lots of spray. For me, didn't look as controlled as what we would have liked, but definitely coming into the 3.5 range. I mean, we're waiting for scores, as you can see on your screen.
So what I take out of that wave, Tash, and for the viewers that are watching possibly contest surfing for the first time, it was a very short wave.
Yes, correct.
Let's just discuss that for a second. It's not about length of ride. It's about how radical and how critical a surfer can get on the wave. You can do 2 turns in a very short amount of space of time, and that would get a much higher score than a gentle, more conservative ride that stretches out over, 100 yards or so. So it's about radicalness. It's about maneuvers.
Yeah, I think just for anyone who's wanting to get an idea of judging, the wave is our canvas. So number one, we need to select a good quality wave that's going to be able to give us the scoring potential that we need to be looking for. And then being able to surf from bottom to top, so utilizing the full length of the ride. What I liked with Zoe there, she went straight to the bottom, straight to the top, and then was able to push her board through that turn, gigs. And that is showing speed, power, flow, with control in the critical section of the wave.
I think the key word out of that last wave of Zoe Steyn also, Tash, would be control, because she actually had to force that maneuver. She did force it, but it was done with skill and control. There was no real bobbles in it. And so she'll fetch a 3.83. So now the 2 waves apiece, the totals are added up. That's what you see now top left of screen. 13 and a half minutes to go. Zoe Steyn with an accumulative total of an 8.66. And that is made up of 2 individual waves, a 4.83, and that last one we've just dissected, the 3.83. So at this stage, Heather Clark trailing, and you see the requirements of 5.33. Now, when you start looking at the second half of a heat, we know 13 minutes is less than half of the heat now to go. We started on 30 minutes. A 5.33 is a requirement that is above any score that's been achieved in the lineup thus far. So you start looking at the way the heat is starting to lean, and you go, okay, all right. Heather Clark actually has to put a meaningful number up fairly soon if she's going to stay in the mix here and find her way to the Ballito Pro Final.
Yeah, absolutely, Gigs. And if we saw Zoe Steyn's 4.83, one maneuver, a 4.83, Heather Clark needing a 5.33. So she's either needing to go really big on one maneuver, but ideally you always want to have a combination of maneuvers in one wave. So trying to fit 2 turns into one wave will definitely help her get the requirement that she needs.
You'd be wondering what kind of advice former championship tour surfer Greg Emsley would have given Zoe Steyn prior to paddling out in these conditions on hand here at Ballito this morning. I would imagine he would have said something like, go for one big maneuver, bank the score, and then obviously if you do find the wave that allows and opens up, then go looking for more than that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Heather Clark sort of comes back. Now, just to further explain particularly to our Ballito TV viewers who have joined us, the P and the number 2 that you see in the color blocks, those alternate according to when surfers catch waves. So right now, out in the lineup, the P means that a priority is in favor of red. Now, what that means is that if a really attractive, good-looking wave comes along and Heather Clark shows interest in it, she can't have access to it. It's Zoe Steyn's choice if she wants to go or not. Now, as a competitor, you don't want to offer your opponent a good-looking wave, right? So you'll take it yourself. But then if you take it yourself, you'll also put yourself in a situation where you must better your weakest score. So if Zoe Stain's going to take off again and throw away the P for priority, she's got to do it and better her lowest score, which right now we can figure out is a 3.83. So just to understand the mechanics for viewers that are pretty new to this exchange, because it is quite intimidating to people that, you know, who don't know the sport, trying to figure out what it is. And it's also a subjective sport. So in the same way you would look as a viewer at high diving or at gymnastics routines, there's little details, but you can also tell what's a floppy flip-flop, right?
Yeah.
Or a really good flip-flop. These are gymnastics terms, folks. But it's a visually stimulated sport. So it is subjective, and of course the judges have to plow through all of that. But when you start applying that criteria, those details, and the more you watch, the more you understand the details.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just also remembering that our playing field is always changing. No two waves are the same. Can they be similar? Yes. Can we fit in the same amount of turns? Hopefully.
So it's like if you're a hard diver and they keep moving the pool around underneath you.
Absolutely.
Or somebody keeps moving the gym mat. What are those things that they pony off? The horse. What do you call it? The gymnastics horse?
Yeah, I'm not a big gym fan. Hey, I'm so sorry.
We're waffling. But we're making comparisons with other sports, folks. And surfing very unique in the fact that we are directly plugged into what weather produces. So waves are results of weather patterns. It's that simple.
Yeah.
You know.
And adjusting, adapting, having to, you know, really spend a lot of time in the water to understand conditions. I've been here for the last couple of days, and pretty much every hour on the hour, this place changes. Your wave face changes slightly.
Well, Ballito has a rich history of surf competition, and it is not Zoe Stein on screen's first visit to Ballito, nor Heather Clark's. Now, that is a more meaningful wave right there. So she took off. She did everything right. She's ticked the boxes. She was taking off with the intention. But that's a good stinging turn from Heather Clark, too. So here's a good exchange with 9 minutes now remaining. This is now getting exciting, Tash. We're starting to get into the shape of a good challenge now for semi-final number 1. But let's just give Zoe Stein a little credit. We'll go back and look at that exchange of rides shortly while the judges ponder those scores. We are speculating that Zoe Stein would have improved on her weakest score.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one, Giggs. What reason being is she fitted in 2 turns. So one more maneuver than the previous scoring ride. And also nice and strong, very clean, lots of control in that backhand closeout re-entry. We're going to be going to the replay here. This is Zoe Stein. So you can see almost like a little bit of a check turn, but wraps her whole board around. Now she's setting up for that second maneuver, leans into it and releases the tail up and over the lip. So a great wave here for Zoe, but Heather Clark answering back straight away. She leans around, gets into the corner, gets that first turn off the top and follows it up with another. And then almost catching that little bump, slowing down and unable to finish off that last maneuver and closeout maneuver.
Well, Tash, what I take away from that exchange there as we come down to 8 minutes, still waiting for those scores to drop in, is perhaps those are the best waves achieved by both individuals thus far. And the judges are going to agree with us. 6.5 in, a greater number again for Zoe Stein on the exchange. So Zoe found her best ride, 2-turn combination for the 6.5. Heather Clark also adding her best number thus far, 4.77. So both surfers improving their individual scores. But have a look what's happened. The requirements, when we add the best 2 rides up, it's an even bigger ask now for Heather Clark. Zoe Stein's last ride starting to cement a berth in the finals here.
Yeah, absolutely. And a 6.5 falling into the good category of scores. So we can score from a 0.1 to 10 points. And then you've got 5 different categories in that spectrum. So excellent scoring rides, anything from 8 points to 10 points. A good ride, anything from 6 to 7.9. So Zoe Stein finding the 6.5 gigs, and that's a good score. It's a keeper, and we've seen in previous days and through all the different contests under the Ballito Pro, that's those 6.5s and 7-point rides, big keepers, and usually seeing surfers advancing through, even if they don't get a backup.
We posed a question, would the scores come out of the lefts or the rights? The answers are starting to come. It is coming out of the right-handers. Of course, Zoe Stein perfecting her backhand out in the Buffalo City region. That's East London. Of course, Nahoon Reef. This whole East Coast is littered with right-handers, predominantly Heather Clark from the Ugu region, which is down south, St. Michael's on Sea, her local break. As we have a look at the up-and-coming semi-finalist, young Sarah Scott. We're keeping a very close eye on where Zoe and Heather are picking those waves in the lineup. And of course, Sarah Scott coming up against local Sophie Bell, and that's going to be another great story with some contrasting topics to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting semi-final. Sarah Scott from Komaki in Cape Town, the land of lefts. That's a beachy that's got a really great left, but you can see her father in the picture there, Rob Scott. He's the current president for Cape Town Surfing, and spending a lot of time with his kids and at the beach and at most contests that we have been able to hold during 2021.
Just looking at our shot of the lineup here, Tesh, it feels like both our surfers have kind of moved perhaps a little as well. It might just be the camera angle, but I've got a feeling that they're repositioning. They're kind of moving over a little bit more towards the rocks. You spoke about that east wind yesterday, packing the sand more into the southern end of the beach. It just feels like there's been a little bit of a shift in the lineup. Either way, surfers still looking to improve scores respectively. And Zoe Stein now would need to improve on a 4.83 if she is going to. Again, she's holding priority. She's got the right rhythm. Every time there's an exchange, she's back in the lineup. She seems to be having that greater priority advantage over Heather Clark at this stage.
Yeah, and it can be really important to hold down priority, especially in the last 5 minutes, and coming up against someone like Heather Clark. She doesn't get frazzled too much, even with that time left, knowing that she's on the back foot.
You could argue that if all the surfers... Okay, Geordie is still on tour right now, but we've had the illustrious careers of Greg Emsley. We've had the careers of Paul Caddings. We've had the careers of Royden Brysons, Davey Weirs. I think of all the surfers that have served on the championship tour out of South Africa. No one comes close to the duration of time on tour as Heather Clark had, 14 years at the top of the sport.
Yeah, not just that. She's come home. She retired in 2007. Her first Ballito Pro, which was under the Gunston 500 name back then, the Legacy, was in 1989. We're now in 2021. So she's come home after retiring and then still surfing amateur events. She hasn't stopped surfing contest gigs.
Look, it's a testimony to the longevity of the sport as well. I think that you see that in sports like road running. To me, there's very few sports where people are still performing how they were in their 20s, in their 50s, into their 60s perhaps. And I mean, certainly we've got people that are in their 70s and 80s that run the Comrades Marathon, a world famous race that takes place here in KZN. I mean, there are people that are able to maintain sport way out into their latter years. I'm seeing Heather Clark in the mid-50s still part of this picture. That's bizarre.
Well, semi-finals.
That's like Kelly Slater stories.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
If I'm not mistaken, Kelly's got to be, heading for 50 shortly. Heather's 50. She turned 50 in June. And of course, as you mentioned, she does 3 to 5 hours in the water every day. She runs that surf school in Heather Clark Surf Academy down in the Margate and St. Michael's area. Of course, great goofy footers there for her to rub shoulders with, like former 78 world champ Anthony Brodovich. Of course, you've got the pro surfer, we mentioned him, Royden Bryson in the area as well. There is good talent that's starting to sort of develop and merge out of that region as well. And Heather's playing a part in the coaching process there.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about the surfing district from the south coast of KZN, Ugu, which is our surfing district there. Those junior team members that went to SA Junior Champs in October this year, that Ugu district, the quality of surfers that are coming out of that area are starting to be seen. We're starting to see them advance through more heats and juniors, and it's thanks to the likes of Heather Clark putting back into surfing, and that's what you want.
And the way to develop the talent as well is not only showcase them in the pro junior formats, but get the young talent involved with the older experience. And that's been the classic theme case of the semi-final number one here in Ballito. As Heather Clark, you cannot argue, as we mentioned, a Triple Crown winner in 2000. She finished on the world tour third in 2001. She also finished top 10 a number of times. I think 2003 she finished 5th, 2004 she finished 6th. Now that is a time where names like Lane Beachley and Sofia Milanovic was duking it out for world titles. So, you know, Heather's mixed it up, and she's polished her career with the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, Heather definitely deserved of a world title, and probably the biggest issue there was financial pressure and strain the whole time, you know, which changes your focus sometimes. So she didn't give up. She stuck it through.
Well, she won the next best thing, a Triple Crown. I mean, that is just an amazing thing. It's probably not spoken about enough, actually. Heather Clark back in 2000 on the North Shore of Hawaii getting that accolade.
The first South African and only South African, men or women, to hold a Triple Crown title. And she actually said to me...
That's a great talking point. I'm going to make sure I remind Geordie Smith of it.
Yeah, please do. But she did say to me, you know, Sunny Garcia pretty much said that to win a Triple Crown is like winning a world title.
Absolutely.
And it's something that she's really proud of, and I think something that needs to be spoken about more.
We're inside the last minute here, and it's looking like Zoe Steyn on screen is on her way to the finals of the Ballito Pro, unless Heather Clark can find a score in the, well, almost at the 7-point level now. A 6.56 is the requirement for Surfer in Blue. Heather, with all that experience, though, is starting to slip away here for the surfer from the Ugu region. Heather in blue. With that priority now, Tash, is the ocean going to play part? Because now she has unobstructed right of way to any wave that comes through. But she might have to even look for a bigger number. We're waiting for a last of Zoe Steyn, not going to feature in her top 2. So maybe Zoe was also blocking there, keeping Heather off that potential left-hander.
Yeah, and while we wind down this heat, we're going to see Heather trying for a last chance with 2 seconds on the clock. So this will be a counter, but you can just see no speed.
Well, there's body language in that. And, well, Heather Clark on screen at 50 years of age already looks back. She knows. She's aware of the talent that's coming out of the Zoe Steyn camp. And, well, great to see both of these girls. We spoke about their contrasting story here as far as a result in Ballito this year. But it is going to be Zoe Steyn for the win here. Great moment in the sport as well. It's a great story. Someone that really has set the pace for women's surfing over the last decades, Heather Clark. And, of course, Zoe Steyn's going to go straight past her and into the finals of the Ballito Pro for 2021. We'll take a quick break, and we're looking forward to hearing from Zoe Steyn as we start teeing up semi-final number 2.
You can never determine who you are by what you do. Because if it gets taken away, then who are you? Just stay true to who you are, and if they don't like it, stuff that.
All the beach and surf action live from the Ballito Pro, presented by O'Neill. A first on People's Weather. 17 to 19 December, 11 a.m. daily.
Straight into semi-final number 2 of the Ballito Pro 2021. We trust that you're enjoying it with us. We are in semi-final stage of competition here at Willard Beach in the beautiful seaside town of Ballito, South Africa. And we're into semi-final number 2. Sarah Scott out of Cape Town takes on Sophie Bell. So I'm Gig Cilliers with Tash Mentasti. We called a great semi-final there between Heather Clark and Zoe Steyn, Zoe on her way to the finals. And now joined by Paul Canning. Paul Canning is going to join us on the bench. But before we get some words out of PC from the O'Neill brand, let's throw down and hear from winner of that last heat, Zoe Steyn.
Zoe Steyn. Zoe, well done for that last heat. It was a slow start, but you came back with some solid scores. Tell me, what board were you riding out there? It looked very fast and loose once you managed to get going.
I was riding my DHD, which I got quite a while ago. It goes really well, so I've just been trying to save it, keep it on ice for contests.
And Zoe, with this kind of result, you're now into the final of the Ballito Pro. What are your plans for the WQS series, and how does this fit into your plans going into 2022?
I'm really stoked to be in the final. I'm hoping that this will help me get a better ranking for next year, so that I'll hopefully qualify for the Challenger series.
Awesome stuff, Zoe. Well surfed, and we'll see you in the final. Back to you in the studio.
Well, take a note of the name, folks. Young Zoe Steyn is in the finals of the Ballito Pro 2021. We'll get to showcase and talk her talent. And she'll be coming up against the winner of this here, semi-final number 2, out in the lineups, Sophie Bell, the Ballito local. There'll be a lot of people on the beach cheering and wanting her, willing her into that final series to take on Zoe Steyn. Of course, she's got to get past young Sarah Scott. Now, young Sarah Scott contested the O'Neill Rookie Rippers against Zoe Steyn. Am I right? You guys were all part of that, Tash and PC?
Yeah, Sarah Scott finding a second place and making it to the final of that JQS 1000. And she's been surfing well and consistently over the last 7 days under that SA Surfing Champs banner, then moving into the Rookie Rippers Junior Pro. She spent a lot of time on Shag Gigs, and I think that's going to be the advantage in the semi-final. Sophie Bell, no stranger, knows conditions, surfs throughout the year here in Ballito. She has been spending time in Indonesia, though, Sophie, so she's had some quality waves, and now having to be put into slightly more testing conditions for what she's used to. But Sarah Scott, I'm just so impressed with her surfing, and I think that there's great things that are going to come from this youngster.
Well, great to have Paul Canning joining us here in the booth and adding his experience and opinion to what is unfolding here in Ballito. And, of course, we will crown a women's champion here in the next hour or so. We are in semi-final number 2. Now, PC, you're heading up O'Neill Brands Marketing. You guys got heavily invested in the youth of the area, particularly the youth of the whole of South Africa. You're making those calls. You're picking team riders. You guys stitched together the Smith Shapes, O'Neill Rookie Rippers. What are you seeing out of South African surfing right now?
Yeah, good morning, Gigs. Good morning, Tash. Great to be here. Yeah, it's just incredible. We were laughing about it the other day. I'm just such a surf fan, so whenever there's an event, and the guys ask me if we want to get involved, I'm always I jump on it, So, I mean, as we see Sarah Scott having a look at this left.
So you would have seen young Sarah Scott in the Rookie Rippers. She made that final against Zoe Steyn and having a go here in semi-final number 2. She's up against the local experience of Sophie Bell. And while the judges ponder that score, let's go for a quick break and we'll be back with the scores right after this. Welcome back to the Ballito Pro 2021. You're joining us in semi-final number 2 of competition. Already Zoe Steyn winning semi-final number 1 and now duking it out for that other place available in the final. Young Sarah Scott in blue out of Cape Town, South Africa, takes on the Ballito Bay local in red, Sophie Bell. Giggsilia's Tash Mentesti and Paul Canning here, throwing some topics around, having a look at what is happening in South African surfing. And we're very excited because we could end up with one of the youngest finals we've had at this level of competition. Zoe Steyn, just 18 years of age. If in 22 and a half minutes' time, Sarah Scott, just 15 years of age, makes it through, you could argue that's one of the youngest finals you may stage in a qualifying series event.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great stat to bring up. It also just showcases how girls surfing is growing in the country despite this hiatus of not having big events. They've been putting a lot of time in the water. Our community is growing. And for me, I love just seeing the girls go hard, you know. Look at her leaning into this. This is Sarah Scott. So she gets the tag almost a little bit late to get that first turn in. But that type of turn on her backhand is what we're looking for. And Sarah aiming to sit on the left a little bit more, feeling more confident on her backhand coming from Cormacky. And Sophie Bell leans into it. A little bit more power off the top for her on this wave. And she finishes it off with a second maneuver. So we're going to see Sarah Scott, the 2-turn combo gigs, coming up with a 5-point ride.
Yep, so the 5 of Sarah Scott plays against the 4.3 that we've just watched those replays unfold. PC, I mean, judges have got to split that whole thing up. We saw a battle of the 2 goofy footers. Now we've got the 2 natural footers. And interesting, they're swinging it onto their backhand as well. Both Heather and Zoe Steyn's scores actually did come out of the backhand surfing. And we always think of Ballito as the right-handers, but a couple of lefts offering up scores as we go back to live action here. That one a little bit of a fader. A couple of these right-handers. The wind is running with the right-hand breaking wave, so sometimes they'll just stand up and then run a little flat. Here's a combination again. And again, Sarah Scott just starting to stretch a little distance over her opposition here with that exchange. Again, advantage Sarah Scott on that 2-wave showdown, PC.
Yeah, I know you can definitely see it. You know, the rights, I think you might get more distance on the rights, but you're just not getting it standing up like it does on the lefts. And that's where the points are coming from, that one big turn, you know. So, you know, you could see on Sarah Scott's left, it really stood up and she got that nice turn in there. And it's with the bank at the moment, it's kind of running in towards the channel just next to the rocks there. And I think, you know, if they can just get 2 turns, 2 nice big turns on a left, that's where there's going to be some big scores. And obviously Sarah's favouring her backhand coming from Long Beach, Cormacky down in Cape Town. She's got a very strong backhand, so she's looking very comfortable on the lefts.
If you're joining us, it is semi-finals time at the Ballito Pro 2021. Of course, viewers on Ballito TV, trusted you enjoying your holiday and plugging into the surfing action with here. This, of course, is being broadcast around the world on World Surf League. Giggsilia's alongside Tash Mentesti and the O'Neill brand manager, Paul Canning. We're getting stuck into lots of stuff about the sport. We're loving it. And, of course, we've got men's surfing coming for the remaining days all the way to Sunday. So Ballito, again, is the place to be, even though we're used to being here in winter, PC. We're in summer and we're still getting waves. It's an amazing story.
Oh, no, we've got a cracker weekend lining up. I mean, Saturday is the wind is perfect. The weather's looking great. It's going to be a really, really amazing finish to this event. It looks like we're going to run a few heats tomorrow, but then the bulk of the competition will be through into the weekend. And I was chatting to Geordie Smith earlier, and he's looking very forward to Saturday. He can't believe how good the waves are. I mean, we normally in this time of the year we worry a lot about the sand not being right and being holes out the back and not being able to run through the high tide. But it's been very good for December.
We are stoked, and you're with us with live action here. We're crowning a women's champion here today at the Ballito Pro 2021. It's been a big week of surf festivities. Of course, the national championships taking place. A local getting the win in Shane Sykes. He's in the draw. And folks, you didn't hear wrong. Yes, Geordie Smith is part of the men's draw of the Ballito 2021. You don't ever really hear that about a championship tour surfer being here in December. Well, of course, the world has changed shape. The championship tour kicks off with a new diary, and the Pipe Masters gets going on third week of January. And of course, Geordie's got to make his way from Ballito to Pipeline to commence the 2022 Championship Tour. But great that we can get those Championship Tour surfers, the Matt McGillivrays, of course, Shane Sarks coming back from the experience of being in Haleiwa now on the Challenger Series, and really just merge it all together. And all that just is iron sharpening iron here in the South African talent pool.
No, 100%, yeah. And I mean, Geordie had that heavy injury back at North Beach in April, and that knee injury, and through his recovery, he actually said to me back in, I think it was July or mid-August, he said, no, the Ballito Pro is going to be my first event back, after the injury. And, it's a big decision because obviously, it's all happening in Hawaii at the moment. But it's great to have him here in Ballito for a QS 5000. And it's his first event back with a singlet back on after the injury.
Yeah, it's a great script for South African surfing. It's a great script for the O'Neill brand. And, of course, for the town of Ballito as we welcome back professional surfing after what is incredibly a 2.5-year layoff. We did the maths about it yesterday. We started talking about it. It almost didn't sound right, like really. But, yes, it's true. The last time Ballito saw pro competition was in July 2019 with David Silva and Jack Freestone in that final. And of course, now we get to run a Ballito Pro with no internationals in the field. And that's another whole talking point that we'll talk about as we move towards the ladies final. But this is what the World Surf League is actually looking for, is regionalized qualifying series modules that push the talent through and then make them qualify to the Challenger Series, which then becomes its own independent tour. There's a whole set of stories that are going to unfold, and certainly we'll be back here in last week of July 2022 in the Challenger Series format back in Ballito. So for now, at this level of competition, this is a very unique Ballito Pro, not just because it sits in summer, where it's usually in the winter, but it's an all South African Ballito Pro, and it's a great opportunity for our young talent to just polish up, get points, and that's what we're seeing here with two young surfers potentially heading for the final in the ladies' draw.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, yeah, we all love to see the international pros coming down, but I mean, for the South African competitive surfing, it's incredible, as we see Sarah Scott having a look at this right, going a bit flat there, kicking out, but yeah, I mean, what an opportunity for them, to gain international points and prize money without all the international pros here. And I think the new format has just made it so much more affordable, especially for South Africans being so far, from the rest of the world. Back when Greg and I were on tour, it was a fortune trying to, get all over the world on the qualifying series to qualify for the championship tour.
So as good a story as that this is for South African surfing, remember that this is replicated 7 times around the world, okay? So the South American component is the same. The United States have got their thing, the Polynesian, the Japanese, Australasia, and then, of course, Europe. So this is a quick track for talent from all around the world. So it's not going to be an easy journey for any South Africans, because I'm saying that the product, these changes that have been implemented, and it's great that the World Surf League have thought so quickly outside the box and remodeled the Championship Tour, the Challenger Series, and the qualifying series. Can you imagine how exciting the Championship Tour is going to be in just 2 years from now? Because you're going to just be pushing all this kind of talent that would have taken a little longer for the cream to rise to the top. And so young names that are going to get showcased in these qualifying series, and that's just by the way, that was a useful turn from Sophie Bell. We'll see where that one factors in, because she is trailing the semi-final number 2, and we'll start talking about what's going on in the water a little more. But just to wrap up that topic for now, guys, we're going to see the cream rise to the top much quicker.
Yeah, I agree with you, Giggs. I think with this regional series, you're going to see youngsters be able to find those results and put bigger points on the board, and see a lot of youth coming through the Challenger Series, which is going to mix up that championship tour eventually in 2 years or so time. So it's going to be exciting. Surfing keeps evolving. It's quite amazing. It just keeps on building and growing and evolving and adapting, and it's so exciting. And now that it's an Olympic sport, the whole world is able to see what we do in the ocean.
And I mean, the restructure happened really at the perfect time with the pandemic. We wouldn't have been able to travel that much, Now you can still get your points in your local region without having to do any international traveling. So it has worked with this pandemic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It wasn't a better time to put the clutch in, so to speak, and change gears than through this time. And it's a great vision and leadership with Eric Logan, obviously restructuring that as the CEO of WSL. But a lot of the inventing of the new thing, in credit with travel Travis Logie, a former South African surfer, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm sure, Travis also remembers the days when we used to have to travel all over the world to get those qualifying series points, and it was very expensive. So, no, it's definitely helped. And I've heard, from the Australian guys that qualified through the Australian leg, onto the Challenger Series, that now those guys are almost traveling as like a team, as a pack, and feeding off each other. And I'm sure that's going to happen with the South Africans as well.
So we've got a judges replay going on here. Now, this is a wonderful tool that the judging panel can use for a relook on scores like this. They're looking back to a previous score to set a yardstick for perhaps allocating another score. So this is a judge's request for a replay right now. And that is also a really cool tool. We don't actually, the judges can't actually make mistakes anymore. Oh, it's a tough thing to say, but they can't. So they've got the ability to go back and they go, oh, hold on, we allocated a score 10 minutes ago. We actually just want to refresh. And so that was just to add to what that was right there, guys. The replay of young Sarah Scott setting the pace with, let's just have a look. We'll look at some numbers shortly again, yeah? Let's have a look at this one. What do we as we start breaking down details and judges looking for scores?
So this is oh wow, was this her last ride? So this is what we missed earlier, chatting too much.
Yeah, waiting for score on this one, Tash. Waiting for score. PC, that one had a lot of angle on it. That was a good sting right there.
And you could see Sarah like that one. The way she kicked out of that wave, she knew there was going to be a big score, And in these sort of conditions, one big score like that really puts you on the front foot.
30-minute heats. This one's got just under 12 minutes to go. As you see the grey skies, it is tropically warm, so don't think for a moment it's grey and chilly. It's warm, it's subtropical. Air temperatures in the 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It's probably around 23 degrees centigrade out there. You can board short it. Some of the girls, maybe opting for a little light neoprene. Perhaps even one of them in one of those new little O'Neill. You guys, we are the new hyper freaks. We're having a good time with it, folks. We trust that you are too. If you just got down to Ballito and you're in the area, come and say hi at Willard Beach. As we see heat leader Sarah Scott, we are waiting for scores as she gets another good turn in the pocket. Backhand surfing, you can get the angles in there. And just the one turn from her, the judge is still waiting for a previous score. So this is an interesting part of the process here.
Yeah, absolutely, Gigs, and also in a rhythm. So we're waiting for that strong score of wave number 6. She's now had a 7th wave, and it comes out bigger than what we saw with the 7.1 on wave number 3.
What? We're going excellent category surfing here, folks. An 8.5 and a 7.1. Wow, those are big numbers, guys. Those are some of the biggest numbers we've seen actually of the event thus far. I mean, Zoe Stain's name was littered all over the top 5 scores. But here comes Sarah Scott, folks, and let's have a look at this 8.5.
Look how she leans into it, gets straight in, releases the tail. Still lots of flow. There wasn't a hesitation at all. And going straight into the little rebound with that swell coming towards her. Great stance, she's happy, she's confident, and Sarah Scott wanting to make this final and looking good.
Wow. Judges not shy to throw. We spoke about it. That a single maneuver could swing a heat. And let's just have a look how Sophie Bell gets to answer now. This is the Ballito local. She'll go up and have a hammer in the top corner. Now, if you have a look at the journey through that turn, and we'll pull that replay up shortly, Sophie Bell, there was a moment where she hung up there. So that's going to be that's where the difference comes. If you look how quick Sarah Scott stung out of the lip for the 8.5, you speculate that Sophie Bell's score's not going to go that high. But let's have a look at it, PC.
Yeah, we see turning off the bottom nicely and really twisting off the top. Great turn.
Oh, that was a pretty good turn.
Yeah, but I still think it was forced a little bit. If you saw her takeoff, she had to do like a 2-step before she leaned into that bottom turn, where Sarah just dropped in, leaned deep, and went straight up. There was a lot more flow from Sarah Scott than Sophie Bell, if we had to compare.
So both surfers going in the same direction there, just a 3.67 in for Sophie Bell. So judges not getting overexcited. It was that radicalness and the speed out of the lip for Sarah Scott's 8.5. Wow, with 9 minutes to go, guys. What is Sophie Bell going to do now? So we spoke about this yesterday, a 15.6. It's not possible to catch a 15.6 wave score in one individual wave. The scale only goes to 10, so we call that the combination situation. That is going to be one of the worst feelings in surfing, PC.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, especially heading down to the under 10 minutes to go now.
Tash, you've competed against the girls. Have you ever been comboed?
Yes, I've definitely felt the combo pressure, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing you need to remember is, like, you might be in combo situation, but Sophie Bell also not sitting with priority. So she really, I mean, Sarah's got the control in the semi-final right now. What we mean by priority is it means who's ever got the P next to their colour on the top left of your screen, it means that you have first choice of any wave in the water. It doesn't matter where you're positioned in the lineup. Your wave because of that priority. So Sarah Scott.
Well, Sarah Scott in charge of this heat here. Priority in her favour. A massive 15.6 total made up of the 8.5 and the 7.1. It's a case now again of youth and talent overcoming experience, because again you can easily argue Sophie in her 20s has far more experience at the qualifying series level, and here's Sarah Scott just blazing past her. The rip, it looks like at this stage the Smith Shapes O'Neill Rookie Rippers final is about to become the Ballito Pro final. Like, I don't think anyone actually scripted that.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you're so right. It's going to be really exciting. And with 7.5 minutes remaining, Sophie Bell does have to find 2 good scores. And what we mean by that is anything from...
No, they're not good scores. They're going to be excellent scores. Have a look at it. 7.1 and 8.5. She's got to come in. She's got to match it. She's at least got to swing for the ropes now and sucker punch her opponent for an 8, at least an 8.
Minimum 8,
to bring it into the game now. I mean, that's a big ask in the lineup. So a lot of credit to Sarah Scott here. We spoke about Sophie Bell's experience. We'll have a look at the heat recap possibly shortly. So I'm looking to have a look at that 8.5 and that 7.1 again. Let's have a look at the heat recap thus far.
So I liked Sophie on this wave. She leaned into it nicely. This was that 2-turn combo that she was able to find, and that was a 4.33. But the 7.1 here from Sarah Scott. Nice power off the top, straight into the next maneuver, and just really clean and controlled. The 8.5, this was it. You can see nice and quick, lots of power straight from one maneuver into the next, and being awarded that score. And Sophie the 3.67, so almost pushing more into that turn, like a forced turn, really. The scoring potential wasn't in that wave, and she pushed it.
Well, PC, what I'm seeing the difference on that recap there is more power and leg strength out of Sophie Bell. So if she just finds herself a bowl and hammers away, we know what the judges are looking for. We've seen the story now over both semi-final 1 and semi-2, is a single maneuver in the big section is going to get the points. So Sophie's not out of this just yet.
No, definitely. I was actually just about to say that, Gigs. You know, we can definitely see the judges rewarding one big turn. So, 90% of the waves this morning have been one turn. So they actually adjusting their scale, the whole 10 points out of who's doing the biggest, best, fastest, most radical turn, So for Sophie Bell, she just needs to find a wave that'll let her do one turn, and she needs to make sure it's a really big radical turn, and she can get 2 8s, off one turn waves,
No, absolutely. And the other thing that I'm noticing as I start thinking of comparing the 2 semi-finals is Sarah Scott's the only one that's really putting 2-turn combinations together. Everyone else is kind of building scores. Yes, Sophie Bell, that was a good hook in the pocket. That was much better from her. Not right up in the lip, though, more in the bowl, Tash. But I want to see where that score goes. With 5 minutes to go, that was a pretty critical score in the story of semi-final number 2.
Yeah, and Sophie's been looking so good. She's just come back from Indonesia. She was meant to go on a 2-month trip, ended up doing 6.5 months, and her surfing has definitely leveled up. But now, the timeline of it all. So there's the score. She was rewarded a 5.5 for one maneuver.
So actually her best score thus far. It goes into her top 2, but not enough to unlock the combo. So that is how cemented this lead is right now for Sarah Scott. We spoke about Sophie Bell's experience. I mean, you look back on the qualifying series 2019 pre-pandemic, Sophie was all over the park. She was up in Senegal doing the QS there. She's been down here. This is not her first Ballito Pro by a long shot. So you'd think that, again, like semi-final number 1's theme, you'd think that, well, Heather's experience over Zoe Stein, it's very clear how surfing is producing the talent. You don't have to have a lot of experience. It's the talent. Let's have a look at this turn, though. Big turn there, guys. 5.6. I liked it, but not enough to unlock the combo.
Yeah, it has. It hasn't really affected things much. So she's really looking for those two, 7, 5, 8s. She really needs to find the right waves. But I mean, Sarah Scott, she's only 16 years old, 15. She surfed a very, very clever heat. You can see her strategy is on point, and she's had the priority at the right times. She's been in the right place for the waves, and here we see her going again, doing a nice backhand turn there. Really twists and nicely off the bottom and rotates the hips off the top. Great technique.
Other than here, there's one wave that had a combo. She's the only one finding combos in the lineup. Zoe Stein kind of built her scores mostly on single maneuvers. So it's interesting Sarah Scott's read of the lineup here. Of course, Sarah would have done the least amount of time in the lineup here in Ballito, coming from Komiki way on the other side. She'd be used to the cold water, completely different. But you know what? I see a little bit of Northwest Long Beach here. When you get onshore Long Beach, there's little elements of it there. So Sophie hasn't shied away, obviously, from surfing everything available to her in the Komiki area. And there's a lot of waves available for her there. She could even step up into a whole big wave career, where she's based over in that side of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think also we've seen Sarah, you can see our locals.
It's the Dolphin Coast, folks. It's the Dolphin Coast. Of course, the bottlenose dolphin, a regular visitor here. You come to Ballito for a holiday, no matter what time of year, PC, we're going to see. And this is all part of the experience for holidaymakers. I mean, just everybody loves their time in Ballito, especially when you live inland. You come down, you see whales and dolphins, you just get this ooh and ah stuff going on,
Yeah, I know the ocean is alive in this part of South Africa, as it is everywhere in South Africa, I guess. But yeah, I know.
Let's have a look at heat leader with 2 minutes to go. Sarah Scott, she's going to... And she hasn't been in priority here, so she's just picking up another wave. Remember that for her to surf, she has to improve on a 7.1. So this heat pretty much in the bag here, guys, as far as the semi-final result goes. It looks like we're going to have an all-teenage final at this stage. Sarah Scott, with a little over 90 seconds to go, will leave her opponent Sophie Bell out the back to ponder a 15.6 combination. We're not seeing it. It is, guys, trust me, it's impossible now for her to take this win. And, well, all credit to Sarah Scott. I mean, she's done everything right. You spoke about her strategy, Tash, right from the very start. She's mixed it up. She's gone left. She's gone right. She's done everything. But she's put together those combos and that one sting in the lip for the 8.5. It's the highest score of the day thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just starting strong, finishing strong. So sticking to the basics and great strategy. You saw her with her dad before the semi-final. And she's got good support on the beach. She's been spending so much time here. She was here a few days before, many heats through that South African Surfing Champs, then the Rookie Rippers. So she's been surfing out here. She's put a lot of hours into it. So she might not be used to Ballito. It might be her first full year, really just enjoying Ballito. But sticking to her guns, she's got her goal. She knows what she wants to achieve. And I was talking to her this morning, and she's really stoked just being able to be out here in the QS 1000. And it looks like we're going to see her in the finals.
With under 30 seconds to go now in semi-final number 2 here in the ladies' draw of the Ballito Pro, it's looking like Sarah Scott on screen is on her way. The young teenage talent from Cape Town is on her way to the finals of the Ballito Pro to take on Zoe Stein. And as we said, guys, this is testimony to how quick the talent can rise through the system. Surfing's in a really good position now for the next couple of years. It's very exciting. Countdown, and we'll wrap up this semi-final number 2. It is an official result. Sarah Scott from Cape Town, as we see Sophie Bell. She may have got this, guys, just inside the clock. So you'd think that judges will allocate a score to this. We'll just confirm that. It is waiting for scores. So that last wave of Sophie Bell, it is a case of too little too late, but a good performance from Sophie nonetheless. That local experience getting her through the round of 16, the quarters, and, well, a semi-final result, third place finish. It's not to be sneezed at.
No, not at all. And I think that Sarah Scott really found the better of the waves out there. She just found waves that had more wall, and Sophie only able to fit in one maneuver with almost a half turn as a second maneuver. So, sometimes surfing is about the luck. And Sarah Scott was really in rhythm out there and looking polished for a young 15-year-old.
So, on screen, Sarah Scott. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll come back for the Ballito Pro. We'll be getting ready for our finals, and we'll also look forward to possibly a quick chat although I think that Sarah Scott may just have her head in the game and not talk to Beach Interview. We'll confirm all of that after the break.
You can never determine who you are by what you do. Because if it gets taken away, then who are you? Just stay true to who you are, and if they don't like it, stuff that.
Catch all the beach and surf action live from the Ballito Pro, presented by O'Neill. A first on People's Weather. 17 to 19 December, 11 a.m. daily.
Welcome back to the Ballito Pro 2021. We're having a great time with it. The women's final has now been set and staged. Gig Cilliers alongside Tash Mentesti and Paul Canning from O'Neill. We've just gone through 2 semi-finals here, folks. And what has emerged over the course of this morning and all the way through yesterday's competition is the young talent that's coming out of South Africa. Sarah Scott for the win. Again, I'll be honest with you, I didn't predict that she would just sail past Sophie Bell like that. The local talent, Sophie Bell, finishing third. Wow, the talent to a teenage final in a women's event.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I mean, 2 15-year-olds in the final with Zoe and Sarah, and we were chatting about it. You know, South Africa's in such a good spot at the moment with that new generation coming up. Those kids between the age of 12 and 16, we're really seeing a strong move there with a lot of kids in that generation, and it's a very similar generation to Geordie's. You know, when we had Travis and Brandon Jackson and Dan Redmond, and they all push each other to the top. So I think we've got a good future coming up.
We've established our finalists here at the Ballito Pro 2021. Let's go down and hear from our new finalist, Sarah Scott. She's down there for the beach interview.
I'm here on the beach with winner of semi-final number 2, 15-year-old Sarah Scott from Cape Town, taking out semi-final number 2 and through to the finals in the ladies division of the Ballito Pro. Well done, Sarah. That was a fantastic heat. Your highest score was a 8.5, putting Sophie Bell into a combination situation in that heat. How many times have you surfed Ballito before coming to this event?
I did the last Rookie Rippers a couple years ago. But I haven't surfed here much at all.
Well done for somebody that hasn't surfed here much. You certainly seem to have this break dialed. Did you have an eye specifically on those lefts? Your highest score was on the one left. And what were you thinking before that heat? What was your strategy?
Yeah, so I surfed here this morning, and the lefts here, there was a bank. And I sat here with my dad, and we watched it. And the strategy was to sit on that left bank. Then I ended up getting that nice right that came through, and then as well as that left. So I'm super stoked to get to like high scoring waves and even combo, which is super sick. And I'm so happy to be in my first QS final.
What will your strategy be now going into the final up against Zoe Steyn?
Well, Zoe is a very, very good surfer, so it's going to be really tough. I'm really excited though. Definitely, I know I'm going to have to perform really, really well. But I have a lot of confidence now from the last heat, so I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to do my best.
Congratulations, and we'll see you in the final. Back to you guys in the studio, Gigs.
Oh, thanks, Mike. A couple of words there from couple of words there from from Sarah Scott, who's now into the finals. We mentioned it just before the break, an all-teenage final. Zoe Stein, just 18 years of age. Sarah Scott, 15 on her way to 16. I mean, these people don't even have driver's licenses. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an incredible final, and I'm sure Zoe's got such a strong backhand, so I'm sure she's going to be looking for those rights out there. But Sarah's got a good advantage. You know, she's good on her forehand, and she's incredible on her backhand too. So it's going to be an exciting final.
Yeah, lots to talk about. It's the classic case of the goofy versus the natural again. Of course, lots of action over the last 2 days. Let's go back and have a look at that action from quarterfinals. Let's have a look at those roads to the finals for both of our surfers, Zoe Stein and Sarah Scott. They had to get through quite a lot of field and quite a lot of talent. So we go back and have a look. This is when the onshore started picking up yesterday. Zoe Stein in the quarterfinal really smashed away, and she got some amazing scores, including a 6, I think this was a 6.17. And then, of course, this may have been the same heat, Tash, where she packaged that 9.83 as well. But it's single maneuvers out of yesterday's lineup as well, guys. So, again, wind opposite direction today, but this is why Zoe Stein's in the final.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally different conditions, but these strong maneuvers from Zoe on her backhand is what has been getting her through the heats. And you can see how she pushes off that tail once she goes up into the lip and then sets up nicely for that second maneuver. So this is going to be the key going into the final, is linking those turns, combination of maneuvers on waves. And the judges have definitely been critical with that.
No, absolutely. Zoe Stein getting past Heather Clark, who would make her way to the semifinals. Of course, Emma Smith and a young surfer in Chantel Kramer, part of that quarterfinal number 1. So there was a lot of talent. No, actually, you know, if you think about it, there's not actually easy heats. But that one, Zoe Stein just really stamping her authority on that. And, of course, quarterfinal number 2 as well. Some great surfing taking place there with names like Teal Hogg and Tanika Hoffman getting the wins. And go back and have a look at yesterday's action. Of course, that looks like Heather Clark from yesterday. Have a look at these ones. So we're just going back and having a look at quarterfinals yesterday. Of course, Heather, 50 years of age, PC. We argued she's the one with the most experience. More experience than even you.
Yeah, no, she did have a long time on the tour. Definitely above the 10-year mark on the tour. And a lot of it was when I was on tour. You know, I think from 93.
Same era, right?
Same era, yeah. Late 90s into the early 2000s. Most of my time on tour was while Heather was on there. And she was an incredible surfer, had some great success in Hawaii, and still incredible to see her still competing at such a high level.
Yeah, that quarterfinal number 2, it was Tanika Hoffman. We saw on that last replay there, Tanika Hoffman getting that win and Teal Hogg advancing. But those are the surfers that would actually end up falling out against eventually our semi-finals this morning. And of course, having a look at quarterfinal number 3, Keira Knight, who would lose to Sophie Bell. Let's go back and have a look at quarter number 3 from yesterday afternoon. And this is Sophie, and she's kind of almost, again, picking on the left-handers. This is Keira Knight. And what are we thinking of her talent going forward here, Tash?
Yeah, so Keira, the goofy footer here, and she's a great surfer from Cape Town as well. That wave really not showing what she's capable of, but Keira is a woman and a young girl that everyone knows and doesn't want to come up in a heat together with, but she's got a backhand attack that goes up and under sometimes and not scared of the lip. And I think just not able to find the waves that she needed to find the scores. I thought Keira was going to feature. I really enjoy her surfing.
Yeah, I think Keira Knight, her technique is really on point. She's not carrying a lot of body mass, not carrying a lot of muscle bulk at this stage to really power up the turns. So hers is all about timing and just being precise. And I think that's a talent to look for as we go into 2022. I'm toting some more results from Keira Knight. Let's have a look at quarterfinal number 4. Finalist now, Sarah Scott, would get past Natasha van Groenen. Now, this is one that I didn't think would go this way, Tash.
Yeah, I must say me neither, just because of, Natasha van Groenen coming off the Challenger Series, so a lot more experience. And just with her turns, very strong on her backhand. You can see that wobble in the way. This is when the onshore conditions were really blowing. And Sarah Scott, I don't want to even say got lucky, because she surfed a good heat.
No, very on point, Sarah Scott. I mean, this is her yesterday in the quarterfinals. And again, it's been that classic case of the talent emerging over the experience. And again, it was pretty hard to stitch combinations together. She did it in the semi-finals this morning. She did it in those quarterfinals yesterday, PC.
Yeah, I think that was a big heat for Sarah Scott. I think the confidence she got out of beating Tasha van Krenen, who's been on the Challenger Series right throughout this year, that really put her on the front foot going into the semis or into the final, semis and finals today. So that would have been a huge confidence builder for her.
Absolutely. So Natasha van Krenen finishing in that quarterfinals at the expense of Sarah Scott. So those were a look back to the quarterfinals. And of course, we look at the entire event and overall best scores. We'll pull up those numbers for you shortly. You're going to see a common theme here if we talk about the top 5 waves of the event thus far. You're going to see our finalists' names peppered all over those graphics shortly. Of course, you are watching the Ballito Pro coming to you from Willard Beach here. We trust that you're enjoying it with us. Let's have a look at highest waves of the event. Tash, we know what this number was worth.
The 983, and with surfing like that is why she was awarded at critical surfing. Lots of flow into those turns and utilizing everything that wave had on offer.
Yeah, we were actually analysing it with Greg earlier, Greg Emsley, her coach, and you see her backhand, she really whips it around at the back and gives her a lot of speed off the top. You might see it again here too. She really throws that left hand behind her,
And I'm watching how her head drops as well, PC. If you look at that technique as she goes up into the apex of the turn, really dropping that head down. See how low she put her head there, and it just allows that board to just travel right up, Tash.
Right up and then back under her, which is what you want. And then she's able to get straight into the next turn. Zoe Stein, 18 years old. She's been around for a while, won her first SA title at 16, and just excited to see what 2022 holds for her. This is Kira Knight. So exactly like you said, not as much weight on her, missing the muscles that she needs, but her technique is great, and she's a fiery competitor out in the water. I had to surf a heat with her, and there were no smiles. So I'm a friendly girl, and she wanted nothing of it, focused on the water and focused on the waves.
Well, this is a look at the top 5 waves of the event thus far, and you see Zoe Stein regularly featuring in this top 5 set of scores. These scores would have been mid-range 6s. This is just as that wind started to rip our quarterfinals apart yesterday, PC. But there's no arguing that her technique, and then obviously heat strategy with Greg Emsley as the coach, it's going to be a big final for Zoe Stein, and it's going to be, I'm saying, a big ask for Sarah Scott. Just have a look at these. The footage coming out of Zoe Stein here, it's just amazing what's going on.
Yeah, really. If you look at the scores now, Zoe Stein holding down that 983, which came through the round of 16. Sarah Scott, though, with the 8.5 and just in the semi-final. So let's hope she hasn't peaked too soon, Giggs. That's the big key.
I get excited when I see best scores of the event and then I see the same 2 names in the finals box. It means that stuff's going right, right? You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you can have these flash-in-the-pan higher scores in round 1 or round 2, and then you have this all grindy final, with mid-range scores and stuff like that. So 2 of those highest scores coming from Sarah Scott. You see the second to highest score, the 8.5, the 4th highest score, 7.1, all of that out of the semi-finals this morning. This is teeing up to be a great final, folks.
Yeah, really exciting, and hopefully we don't see Zoe looking at these types of things, because she's going to say, I had a better day the day before than today, but I think Sarah's going to give Zoe a run for her money. When Sarah's confidence is high, her surfing speaks volumes, where Zoe can keep her mind at bay. So I'm excited to see this.
That's an interesting point. Let's drill into that a little bit. PC, you've done your time in the contest jersey. Do you get into those events where you just sort of get, what they call it, getting on a roll, right? You get into the space and every heat just keeps going right. And then you just have the other events where you wrestle with every heat that comes your way, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. There's definitely events where you're just in rhythm with the ocean. Everything is just, the waves are coming to you at the right time. You can do nothing wrong, and you're just in such good rhythm and flow, and it just makes winning so much easier. And then there are those other times when it's just everything's, especially in conditions like this, where you could be 5 meters off a peak, either side. If you were just, a little bit over, you could luck into a bomb, so it is tricky conditions. But Sarah Scott's got nothing to lose. Zoe, I'd say, is the favorite here. A couple of years older, but Sarah Scott, the way she's been surfing, she can easily take it out.
Watching finalist Sarah Scott already paddling out. We're just minutes away now from the start of the Ballito Pro Women's Final. think we'll take a quick break, folks, and we'll just sit back, brush everything clean, and we'll be back for the finals of the Ballito Pro 21 very shortly.
Catch all the beach and surf action live from the Ballito Pro presented by O'Neill. A first on People's Weather. 17 to 19 December, 11 a.m. daily.
Good morning, surf fans. Welcome to the Ballito Pro 2021 men's and women's competition unfolding here at Willard Beach in the beautiful seaside town of Ballito. Gig Saliers alongside Tashmin Tasti and Paul Canning for the call. We are just moments away from our women's final this morning. We're going to crown a champion. It's the World Surf League's qualifying series. And what's exciting here, guys, it's an all-teenage final. We spoke about the talent. What the qualifying series would be able to do is push that talent up. And, well, here we go. A 15-year-old versus an 18-year-old. And make a note of these names, folks. It is the future of South African surfing. Zoe Steyn taking on Sarah Scott. It's a good morning to all of you. I believe a lot of you from Ballito TV are with us as well. And we trust that you're enjoying your time in beautiful Ballito. And our finals looks like it may very well be underway here, guys. Zoe Steyn is going to keep that red singlet for the final. Sarah Scott joining her in the blue. And we're all set for a great final here, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting final. These young ladies, you know, it's Sarah Scott's first QS event ever, and she's just made a QS 1000 final. Yes, she's competed on JQS events, but her first, you know, premier QS event and final. So very stoked already. We could see with the beach interview gigs, she's happy, she's sticking to her game plan and paddling straight back out, really not wanting to sit and wait and have a breather, but get back out there and stay in rhythm.
Yeah, that almost makes sense, PC. If you're on a heater like you just had in that semi-finals, you kind of don't want to fall out of that groove, right? You want to stay in that channel, you want to stay in that mindset and just keep it rolling.
Yeah, no, 100%. You just want to get out there and get on with it as quick as possible. You know, you're in the groove. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this final pans out. I mean, have we been watching these two ladies surf the whole week, and for me, they have been the standout. You know, through the SA Champs, through the Pro Junior, and now into the QS 1000, they definitely have been the standouts. So I think we couldn't have asked for a better final. So yeah, it's going to be exciting.
A big week of competition here in Ballito. Of course, a surf festival as everybody flocks down to the seaside town here this week and last weekend already, having hosted the national championships with a local winner in Shane Sykes. Of course, the O'Neill Smith Shapes Rookie Rippers, the girls' final contested by Zoe Steyn and Sarah Scott. And here they are again. It's a replay of the final from a couple of days ago. Zoe Steyn getting that advantage over Sarah Scott in that Pro Junior Rookie Ripper final. Is this the turn for Sarah Scott to turn the leaf over? It could be.
Yeah, what I was going to say, what a perfect opportunity to have another go at the person that just beat you like a couple of days ago. So I'm sure Sarah Scott has got that in her mind, and she's gonna try and turn the tables for this one.
And of course, Zoe Steyn getting past Heather Clark in semi-final one this morning when we got competition underway at around 10 a.m. And of course, Sarah Scott getting past the local Sophie Bell to set up this final. 15-year-old in blue, 18-year-old in red. It's all very exciting. We love seeing the emerging talent. And looking at conditions here for the final, that blustery southerly wind. And a quick look at the backhand of Sarah Scott, who fetched an 8.5 and a 7.1 on her backhand in the semi-finals just 20 minutes ago. So we'll see if she continues that momentum. Of course, Zoe Steyn, as we mentioned, getting past Heather Clark in semi-final number 1. A little bit more of a sort of structured heat from Zoe. And here goes Zoe just getting that first turn underway. Comes out of it really slow, jams that second turn. So you could argue 2 throwaway scores early on here for both Sarah Scott and Zoe Steyn.
Yeah, and I think, both semi-finals 30 minutes long. So we've seen an hour of water moving onto that sandbank. And you can see a little bit of that push every so often. Zoe Steyn almost holding back on that second maneuver and trying to figure out what's happening with that bump. But at 2.53, it's not going to be a keeper. You really need to go into those good to excellent scoring rides. And with 30 minutes on the clock, they do have time. And you can see these two girls almost separating. Zoe Steyn in the red singlet looking for the rights.
Yeah, and you almost think so. Sarah Scott over to left of screen is going to be looking for the left-hander. So broken peaks coming in here, the wind grooming from the south. It is grey, it is overcast, but it's warm and humid. And we're going to see how the two strategies play out in the final here. It's very, very obvious that they both want to play their backhand skills here, PC. That'll get you excited.
Yeah, I'd love to watch a good goofy photo. But it's good to see. They know, their priority then won't really be a big issue. They're quite far apart, probably about 20, maybe even 30 meters apart. And definitely very, very obvious and clear to see Zoe is looking for those rights.
What's interesting is two surfers reading the conditions and picking a strategy completely opposite each other too. So that's going to be very interesting. Of course, Sarah Scott coming off the 8.5 in the semi-finals, she wanted to just go back out and replay that. Zoe Steyn not getting enticed into that. So it's an interesting moment here. There's still plenty of time in this final, of course. It's all small throwaway scores at this stage. But, as Paul was mentioning there, Tash, big separation of about 50 meters or so in the lineup. So both of them playing a separate peak in the breaking waves.
Yeah, and we actually saw it in previous events under the banner this year. Tidley Island in the JQS 1000. He found the lefts and stuck to those lefts, and his finalist competitor sticking to the rights and, coming out on top. So,
and if I recall from the highlights footage, there was also into a southerly wind, right?
Yeah, true.
So that's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure how Zoe Steyn's forehand air attack is.
I must be honest.
I've never seen her go air on the forehand.
I've really never seen Zoe go left much.
Yeah, no, I mean, growing up at probably Nahoon Reef and, all those great point breaks in the Buffalo City area, her backhand is incredible. But, we haven't seen Zoe surf many lefts, so...
Yeah, and you can argue, well, Sarah Scott coming out of Long Beach, I mean, predominantly left-hander, right? I've got an old saying, friends don't let friends surf Long Beach. But anyway, there are some good waves down there, and it's always crowded. So Sarah Scott will know how to ride, obviously going both ways. She'll have that little right-hander, the little cobbles right-hander at Long Beach on tap, and she'll know how to play the left-handers. She gets to play those left-handers, as we saw in the semi-finals, into the southerly wind. So we'll see if there's advantage with that. And, of course, we'll still have the southerly wind tomorrow when we go to men's format of competition, PC. So it's going to be interesting to see how many men want to go for the punts into the air. There's a number of frothing goofy footers in the men's draw that are going to be wanting to play that game.
Yeah, the way those lefts come into the wind like that and have that like horseshoe bend to it.
And here is that left, PC. It's the finals of the Ballito Pro, first meaningful wave. And that one just getting a little bump in it. So that looked like a great wave on the reed when it came in, but it let her down. So maybe a slightly more conservative approach from Zoe Steyn using the right-handers. They might not buckle down so much. They might just keep a little bit of distance. You mentioned, Paul, that the right-handers might just travel a little bit because they're going along with the wind.
Yeah, and I mean, Sarah, being on her forehand, on those rights, she can really just do like a wrapping cut back or wrapping carve, where Zoe can come square off the bottom and go straight up off the lip. So obviously, the only way Sarah is going to match that is on her backhand, where she can come nicely off the bottom and hook it off the top,
Yeah, and I think, with both girls on their backhand, they really lean into that deep bottom turn, where if you see with Sarah, even on her forehand, she's strong off the top of the wave, but her board is more lateral, where you want it more vertical. That's what the judges are looking for. So she found a 7.1 on her right in her semi-final, but was the 8.5 on the left, and she's going to stick to what's just happened. So we still got 21 minutes. It's exciting, Gigs. It hasn't actually got started yet.
I love it when you guys get excited like this. Of course, as you mentioned, Tash, still a lot of time, 30-minute final set aside. Of course, contest director Anne Wright and head judge John Hodgson, just looking at the conditions on hand, they went, you know what, let's just open that clock up a little bit. We tend to do that. Often if the waves are really pumping, you can shrink it down to the 20-minute window. But today, considering that the swell is almost re-gearing for a direction change, just opening that clock up to 30 minutes. And I like that. I like the bigger format. It just takes the little sort of... how many times have you seen a wave come just after the buzzer goes on a 20-minute heat? I always look at that and go, well, geez, if that was a 25-minute heat, the result would be different. So I think opening it up to 30 minutes really does just allow that platform for a real honest and true result for what's going on at the time.
Definitely, and also great to see. And it was a very hard call yesterday, having to stop just before the semi-finals when that onshore was blowing hard. But I think it was a good call in the end to hold off to today. Even though it's a cross shore, the southerly wind does make it a little bit more manageable, a bit more contestable. So I think in the end it was a great call.
So just having a look at conditions on hand here. The water is quite warm. As we mentioned, about 22 degrees. You pretty much can board short it. Over here, it does look grey and chilly, but it's not. It's real subtropical and warm. As we mentioned as well, we are here in the summer months. It's the first time ever a Ballito Pro is being held in December. I never thought this would happen. And, of course, we're normally here in July. And, of course, we will be back in July again. That's the exciting part. If you're just joining the show, it's the Ballito Pro 2021. Gigs Elias, Tash Mentasti, Paul Canning. We're talking all things surfing here down at Willard Beach on the east coast of South Africa. We're loving every moment. I mean, we've been starved. The sport has been starved. I mean, the Olympics got pushed out by a year, 2.5 years since the last Ballito Pro. So we're just frothing, even though we're getting a summer edition of the event.
Well, Gigs, we're getting a summer edition, but we're getting winter conditions in regards to the big west that's come through. We've had some swell throughout the 11-day period. It's an 11-day beach festival, and we're on day 7 or 8. I don't quite know where I am.
I think it's 8. It feels like we've been here for about a month.
Well, Paul, I mean, you're heavily involved in the process of getting this from concept to reality. When KwaDukuza Municipality approached you, were you guys, representing the brand and, of course, the interests of surfers, were we a little nervous and going, yes, midsummer, do we do Ballito in the middle of December? There's that element where the banks cannot be quite as good as they are. So a little bit of luck on our side, perhaps?
No, definitely. It was very concerning. And, we had quite a tough November for waves and weather in the KwaDukuza region. A lot of rain, a lot of wind. And... about 2 weeks ago, it all kind of stopped, and we've had great weather so far over the 8 days, and really good waves. We've got a good sandbank out at Willard Beach at the moment, so only with a 2 to 3 foot swell running, it's still hitting the bank really nicely and making for very contestable waves. So I think we've scored for the summer edition this year.
Yeah, I like that, the summer edition of the Ballito Pro. And it's been a great festival as well. I mean, really, this adds so much value to the KwaDukuza Municipality's attraction. I mean, this is you guys called that keyword Siakula. We're growing the region. And of course, when you put a beach festival together like this, it just adds that extra layer to everyone's value in visiting Ballito Bay.
100%. I mean, we can't thank KwaDukuza Municipality enough for their support of the Ballito Pro. It's, as you said, it's been 2 years really since we've had a surfing event. 2.5 years. And when they
try to hold your breath for 2.5 years, it's a long time. Let's have a look at live action here. It is the finals of the Ballito Pro 2021, and that is a nice little combination from Zoe Steyn. It's not the best we've seen from her thus far. We know how her scores are featured in the top 5 list of scores thus far on the Ballito Pro, but I feel in the context of the heat that is for now going to play a part in Zoe Stain's campaign for the win here, Tash?
Yeah, absolutely, Gigs. We're almost halfway through the final already, and that was only the 5th wave ridden. So a 3.5 is what came out of that score for Zoe Stain. She's not going to be happy with that one. With 17 minutes remaining, I mean, we saw in the last semi-final, those big scores actually only came out halfway through the semi. So let's hope that we're able to see some scores with more substance and more potential and waves with more potential, but they're both hunting out there. They haven't sat and waited.
We got going at 10 o'clock this morning. Low tide was at 8 o'clock. So water filling in on the bank. PC, let's just break this backhand down of Zoe Stain.
Yeah, great bottom turn. I mean, it is a hard wave to ride. You can see there's a lot of lump and bump. And she still gets 2 nice turns in there and rides that one out. So, yeah, as you say, it's going to put a small score on the board for her. But I still think it's anyone's game. You know, I don't think either of the surfers are in a position yet to start, sort of settling down in the heat. I think there's going to be a big score coming up soon, and whether it's Zoe or Sarah, that's going to put them into the commanding position.
So, Tash, I was just talking tides and I was talking time of day. We're on the mid-tide now. Are we noticing that the way the wind direction may just have laid down a little bit in wind speed and possibly come a little bit more onshore? And that's not going to help the lefts. That's the point that I'm seeing here. And let's have a look at Zoe having another little look here. Still plenty of time on the clock, as we've mentioned. But no breakout scores in this final just yet. The 3.5 last in from Zoe Stain. Further for now, nudges her lead in this final. But requirements very, very small for Sarah Scott to jump right back into the game here.
Yeah, and I think, Gigs, we've been speaking the whole morning about your good scores are going to come out of a combination of turns. So now Zoe did fit 2 turns into that wave, but the judges are being very critical because she didn't ride out of that wave with speed, and almost pushed it off that second turn and awarded only a 3.5.
Well, definitely the lower tide, when we saw Zoe Stain paddle out at around 10 a.m., it was a one maneuver contribution because the tide was lower. Now the waves are rolling and running a little bit more, so the scores kind of have to be built now with combination as opposed to one punchy maneuver. So conditions are playing a part here. It is dictating the final at this stage. We want to obviously see both surfers perform to their very best, but they've got to work the field here. They've got to pick out if there are any diamonds in the rough, so to speak. Paul, they've got to work. Would you be moving around the lineup at this stage? Because I'm noticing still separation between the 2 surfers.
Yeah, I think in these kind of conditions, you got to start hunting a bit now. Now it's in the next sort of 5 minutes is going to decide the winner really here. Because you want to, if somebody can get a 7 on the board now and then grab the priority, that's that'll put them into a very strong situation. So I think these next 5 minutes are very crucial.
So just a 5.83 accumulated 2-wave total for Zoe Stain, made up of the 3.5, her last wave we've just seen, plus the 2.33. So those are not great scores. Let's just call it as is. They're not great scores, but they're averagely holding in there. Now look at Sarah Scott's averages. They're all decimals. So clearly right now, Zoe Stain's formula perhaps a little bit more productive than Sarah Scott's. I've just got a feeling that the conditions have shifted from Sarah Scott's semi-final to the finals now. The water's moved. There's no doubt. I can see it. I'm not seeing those big wedgie lefts. I don't know if Sarah Scott's going to be able to get the opportunity. Her mindset's there for another 8.5 on the left. I'm not seeing the same lefts in the lineup now, PC.
Yeah, you can definitely see, with this strong southwest wind, it's obviously turning the swell direction to more of a southerly swell. So those lefts obviously working well with the easterly swell direction and the westerly wind. But now we see with this big cold front that's moved through, the rights are actually starting to look a bit better. And this is a very good wave here.
Well, Zoe Stain, heat leader, looking to improve on her low score of a 2.33. And I say she's done that right now, and that's going to be the best wave of the final right there with a little under 13 on the clock. And this is showing pedigree. This is showing a solid heat strategy from her and her coach, Greg Emsley. And that is going to put a little bit of pressure on Sarah Scott.
Yeah, definitely. Finding a wave that ran across that sandbank a little bit more. She was able to set up those turns. She didn't rush anything and fitting in 3 maneuvers, and that is going to be the key counter. So we are waiting for scores. Priority shifts to Sarah, and you can see how Sarah's moved from the left side of the screen to the right. Yeah. So plan B coming into play maybe.
Yeah, PC, a great point you make there, Tash. possibly a rethink of the strategy right now would be important. We're into the second half of the heat. Mathematically, we're inside the 15 minutes of the 30-minute final, 12 remaining. Sarah Scott can't now just keep sitting there. What she's looking for now may have been blown out to sea. And on the way back out, Zoe, heat leader, is going to find another right-hander. You said that the right-handers, Paul, were going to travel with the wind and a little bit more distance possibly available on the wave face of the right-handers, and that's exactly what's unfolding here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And as you like you said, Tash, now Sarah's going to her plan B, and when you're starting to look at your plan B, then you're sort of on the back foot, and you are starting to stress a little bit, going in towards the 10-minute mark in the heat. So I mean, it's not impossible, but I think she really needs to move over and try and find a right like Zoe found.
Yeah, no, if Sarah finds a right with a wall, she's really good with a wave that stands up. She's got a lot of power to be able to do those maneuvers. So
judges calling for another wave review here. They're looking back on this. They want to actually, so they haven't allocated a score for this yet. Judges thinking this one through. They wanted a replay. 3-turn combo, guys. Now you're going to argue, is that good category score, or does that nudge up into the excellent category? And we're starting to now discuss, is this a 7 or is this an 8? That's kind of what I'm seeing from the panel there. So they've asked for the review. They haven't allocated the score just yet. We're still waiting. In fact, we're waiting now for 2 fresh numbers from Zoe Steyn. But what I've noticed, while the judges are pondering that score, Tash, I'm seeing blue moving over. We've seen the plan B now coming in from Sarah Scott, the young 15-year-old. She's made the shift in the lineup.
And there's that score that's dropped in for that fourth ride, the 3-turn combo, a 6.5. I must be honest, I thought it was going into the 7 range, just basing around conditions, but I'm no judge.
6.5 PC, fair score, 3-turn combo, and still waiting for another number. So right now, it's a 3.1 that comes in. So last of red not going to factor in, but the previous wave, a 6.5, adds to a 2 wave. And now Sarah Scott is going to find one of these right-handers. And that whitewater is just going to clatter her with 10 minutes to go. That plan B needs to kick into action really quickly now for Sarah Scott, because Zoe Steyn has stretched out the lead with a 6.5. So that is a real banker. And things kind of going Zoe Steyn's way right now in this final.
Yeah, well, Sarah Scott looking for a 9.2. It's a big ask for one score. We've seen an 8.5 being the highest wave score for today. We saw a 9.83 yesterday from Zoe Steyn. So it is, you can find those scores out there, but definitely testing conditions. And with 9.5 minutes on the clock, Sarah's going to want to find 2 good to excellent scoring rides to be able to move from second.
Of course, Sarah Scott coming out of Komiki in Cape Town, making the trip up to Ballito. She mentioned to Mike Frew on the beach interview that she really doesn't know the lineup in Ballito very, very well. So just a wonderful experience gathering trip for the young Komiki surfer in blue. And she's up against Zoe Steyn, who just seems to be clicking a gear right now. The young Buffalo City surfer back on the backhand again. She's done this all event long. She's fetched 9.83s in the lineup. She's got multiple scores in the 6s and 7s through the rounds, including quarters and semis. And now she's really starting to close the door on her opponent here, is Zoe Steyn. Let's have a look at the exchange. Wave offering itself for Sarah Scott. Now, we spoke about her forehand capability. She can match wave for wave, score for score Zoe Steyn, driving off her toes as opposed to her heels. But she's also not getting the wave selection. I mean, again, Zoe Steyn, same part of the beach now, a better wave on that last exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zoe almost seems to be in rhythm now. She's had 3 quick rides and 2 of the 3 are counters. So that's just changed the whole heat with 8 minutes on the clock.
Slight improvement for your heat leader with a 4.17 last score in for red. And that is going to push that heat total up into the multiples, 10.67. So 6.5 for the 3-turn backhand combo. And again, Zoe Steyn out front in this final. It's I'm loving the whole story of the emerging talent. I know I keep harping on about it. Last wave of Sarah Scott's not even going to factor in here, guys. It's looking like the steam train is starting to run away now for the Buffalo City surfer. We talk of Greg Emsley being the coach, and of course the success of Greg with Bianca Buitendach at the Olympics, all the way to a silver medal, and certainly that intel, that experience of Greg. Zoe Steyn's not doing a lot wrong here in the Ballito Pro.
No, not at all. And I just think, Zoe's so great to work with. She really responds well to what you say. You say it once, Greg was saying it yesterday, he just has to mention it once and it all comes into play in the next training session. So they work well together. They're a good team, and we've always put a bit of pressure on Zoe since she was a youngster, because she really has shown a lot of talent very young. And then with having your first ever coach as Greg Emsley, she's built on that momentum really quickly at a young age.
Tash, did you listen to any advice that Ringo, your dad, gave you? Or did he have to say it 10 times?
I can't say this.
Yes, exactly. Just making that point.
But yeah, very true. I never listened to Dad.
It's good that athletes are pliable like that, especially when you've got a wealth of experience like Greg Emsley on the coaching role here for Zoe Steyn. So this is what you'd expect. You'd expect the formula. They've got a formula. They've come in with a plan here, Paul. It's going to plan, for want of overusing the word, but they've gone in with a crystal clear vision of what they're trying to achieve. They've monitored the conditions. And Tash, you mentioned it, that shift in tide right now, it's almost a different lineup to the semi-finals just a short while ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I was chatting to Greg also about Zoe, and he said it makes his job so much easier because she just always seems to find the good waves. Whether it's in a free surf or in a heat, she always finds the good waves. And I think maybe that's a bit of a East London thing, because I said to Greg, but you also always found the good waves, I think maybe it's just time in the ocean, Those guys from East London surf so much, and Zoe. I mean, I've seen her out here so much, and it's just more time in the ocean. The waves are going to come to you more. Yeah,
absolutely. Priority use and play here. Zoe Steyn likes the look of this one. She's got to improve on her last ride, a 4.17, and that's a good vertical hit. Just the one maneuver though. Got a feeling that vert turn might actually factor in. Let's have a look here. Sarah Scott. Oh, and this final is just falling apart. The seams are unraveling for the young Cape Town surfer in blue. You think of the lineage that Zoe Steyn sits amongst. Wendy Both, a 4-time women's world champ at the early 80s mark on the calendar, out of the East London area. Rosie Hodge, of course, we saw her talent in this format emerge way more than a decade ago. In fact, I think Rosie kind of, she stuck her hand up for talent in the early 2000s already.
Yep.
So, Zoe Steyn following in all of that sort of history. And that's a great story for Zoe to emulate. Can she go all the way to a Wendy Both a world title? Good question.
I think she's got it in her. I think she's got the talent. She's got the desire, the dedication. She's very focused, very competitive. She's got great technique. So, yeah, she's got everything she needs to be a top professional surfer. So, yeah, I got no doubt.
Tash, we're going to look at a judge's replay of Last of Red. They haven't allocated a score for the single maneuver, and we questioned, would it replace the 4.17?
Well, just watch it. She commits straight through it, straight up into the lip. Personally, I would have liked to see her get that tail up and above the lip a little bit and rotate it more. The 4.17 is her backup ride. I don't know if she's going to get higher than that for that wave number 7.
Ooh, okay. So you're saying not a 4.17. I'm saying, PC, what are you saying? Let's just go with you first. Does that last single maneuver better a current counting score of a 4.17?
I might go 5.
Okay.
Really?
I'm saying yes, it does feature because it was vertical. It does, Tash, by just a half a point. We'll go with it. We'll go with it.
Too critical, though. Being very critical.
But Paul, it wasn't a 5, it was a 4.6. So I'm going the middle road on the score. No, we're just having fun with it, guys. But a 4.17 now replaced with a 4.6 for heat leader Zoe Steyn. She's on her way to taking out the Ballito Pro title here. Now an 11.1 heat total. Look at the requirements for Sarah Scott, who is, let's just go back to her best 2 waves. A 1.17, a 0.97. You cannot go into any kind of campaign holding those scores. So massive requirement of a 9.93. She's got to quickly break it down and find herself a mid-range score. She's got to find a 5 right about now with 3 minutes to go. Otherwise, it's good night.
You know what? She hasn't actually even got started. So unfortunately, peaking in the semi-final is what I'm seeing here. And yeah, just hasn't got started. She's a 1.17 as her highest wave total. So yeah, anything with just a complete maneuver is going to help her situation look a little better. But it's Zoe Steyn.
Yeah, if you look at, she got that 8.5 for one turn in the semis. If she could find a wave now where she got an 8.5, she would only need like a 2. So, she's not far off.
The door's not shut.
She just needs to find a wave that lets her do a nice big turn like that one in the semis.
In the format of a contest heat, when is it over? You know, if you are in a combination, this is just shy of a combination.
I don't think it's ever over. I mean, I was in a heat against Kelly Slater, and he needed a 9 in Lacanau. This was back in 1995. And with 30 seconds to go, I knew he was going to get the 9, and he got it. So I never ended up beating Kelly. I think I surfed against him about 4 times. But that was the closest, and he needed a 9, and I still felt like he was going to get it with like 30 seconds to go.
So 30 seconds is not enough time. It's got to be 1 second. Or even better, the clock's got to ring. And we're about 1:45 away now from wrapping up the Ballito Pro final on the ladies' draw. Of course, we've had some great moments on the way. Quarterfinals yesterday, we saw some great performances, including that 9.83 from Zoe Steyn. It's carried her all the way through, getting past Heather Clark this morning in the semi-finals. And we kind of almost then speculated too, was Heather just going to step it up? And she can, you know, Heather Clark as an opponent, even at the ripe old age of 50, you couldn't write her off. But it has been the Zoe Steyn show, and this might be her victory lap run here with a little over 1 minute on the clock. And I'm saying, yes, that is more than a victory run, or we could even speculate a replacement score there. And she knows. So Zoe Steyn's out there. She knows in her head that she's still holding a sub-5 as a score. And even inside that last minute, PC, she's trying to still replace a number.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Zoe might take this win. We've got a minute left, but she's definitely not going to be happy with those scores. She wants good scores. She wants excellent scores. She's quite hard on herself in that regard.
And we talk those numbers. It is a 5.17 for Surfer in Red. So really it is going to be the last ride here of the finals. And, well, almost her best wave. Why is she falling off on those end section maneuvers? The young 15-year-old Sarah, I felt at some stage she could have just... That one there, is it just nerves? Is that where we're at with the journey of Sarah Scott at the Ballito Pro? Because to me, that was a makeable wave.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, she's just, it seems like she has run out of steam, you know. And, yeah, I think she's obviously disappointed, you know, didn't get the waves that she knows if she got the right wave, she could have put on a really good performance.
You know what? She may not be disappointed. She might be absolutely thrilled that she's made the final, right? As a 15-year-old first visit to Ballito. You know, you think about it, and it's like sometimes that's all you can mentally bite off and chew, you know, for where you are in your journey right now. I remember Potts making the finals in 1981 against Shane Horan, and then making the finals as a 15-year-old against MR. Weekend, Gunston 500, and then the next weekend was the Mainstay Classic. At that stage, we used to have those kind of advertisers in the sport. And a 15-year-old Potts made the finals back-to-back, 2 events at the Bay of Plenty. And you know what? I think his take from that was, I'm 15, I made the finals. Like, yeah. I kind of like, it would have almost been too much to process, you know? Yeah. But your scenes right now here at the Ballito Pro, elation from young Zoe Steyn. As is tradition, you have to chair the winner up the beach. There's too much sand under her feet there. Let's see who lifts her and gives her the chair all the way up to the podium. It's Zoe Steyn. We can't argue with her win here, guys. A 6.5 and a 5.17 for the 11.67 total. She kind of has gone through this week here in Ballito unchallenged, just freshly minted as an 18-year-old. Her birthday was last month in November. She's still got some years ahead as a teenager. Remember the name Zoe Steyn, folks. She is our Ballito Pro champion. And, well, you got to love these moments, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And back-to-back wins. She's a JQS winner, the QS Women's winner. What a great week for Zoe Steyn.
Of course, Paul, all these points go towards her, you know, knocking on that door of the Challenger Series, and then from there working that system all the way through to possibly one day, maybe not in the too distant future, a championship tour berth.
No, definitely. This is a great start for her QS season, you know, so hopefully we'll see Zoe in the Challenger Series and the Ballito Pro in July next year. Fantastic start for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, so that Challenger Series gets underway in May 2022, and all the same stops for men and women. It's an amazing story, and it's going to be a great one for Zoe Steyn. Can we get her all the way to that level of competition? Of course, we have just now crowned our women's champion, Zoe Steyn. We're looking to hear from her. We're just waiting to cross down to the beach. But, guys, just a quick one. I mean, Zoe Steyn doing a great job there. No questions. She's the winner. And, of course, accolades to Sarah Scott getting all the way to the finals.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, Zoe has been the surfer of the Ballito Pro so far. You know, her technique and her approach and everything has just been spot on. So, incredible performance by Sarah Scott, but Zoe Steyn was in another class. So really, really good.
Just waiting to hear if we're ready for a beach interview. Just waiting for that signal to cross down. We want to plug into her emotions there. Let's go down and hear from the winner. Not yet. Hold on. I just want to drill a little bit more into Sarah Scott just for a second, okay? Coming out of that Komiki group of surfers, on the men's side of the draw, PC, there's a whole bunch of talent waiting out of that Komiki area. What are we looking forward to on the upcoming days here still of the Ballito Pro?
Yeah, that Komiki region is incredible. I mean, we got Eli Bukes. He's an incredible surfer. You know, I think he's going to do fantastic in the men's event. Then there's Luke Slapen. And obviously Sarah Scott is feeding off these guys. Luke's younger brother, Connor Slapen. So Brad Scott, Sarah's brother. There's a hot bit of talent in that area at the moment.
No, absolutely. We're going to plug into the emotions of Zoe Steyn, our winner. Let's go down and hear from her.
I'm here with the ladies' winner, 18-year-old Zoe Steyn from East London. She won the Pro Junior title at this event, and she's now taken the QS Ladies title. Congratulations, Zoe. Tell us a little bit about your strategy that you and Greg came up with for that final.
Thanks so much. I'm really, really happy to get the win. Our strategy, it changed a lot because the tide and the waves changed so much this morning. It was interesting because Sarah and I were on completely different peaks. And luckily the rights were a bit better, so I think we had the right strategy. So I'm stoked.
I saw that she came across to your side of the peak at the end of the heat there, but you had dominant. Did priority come into play near the end there?
Yeah, definitely. I think priority always helps. Well, it's always nice if you have priority, especially when it gets to the end of the heat and the other surfer needs a score. It just secures your lead almost.
Congratulations, taking the double in Ballito this year. Well done. Fantastic surfing. Back to you in the studio gigs.
Oh, thanks so much. Great to hear from her. Guys, I don't know what you take away from that. She almost seems a little unaffected. It's like, hey, I'm set for bigger things here. But, crystal clear. Obviously, she's stoked, but you can see you can see the gear, the cogs are turning there for Zoe Steyn.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear how they're moving with the way the waves are changing and the wind is changing, and they changed their strategy going in. You know, when you're talking about 20 minutes before the heat, changing your strategy from the semis to the finals, so great adapting to the performance there.
Tash, you mentioned it. You right at the beginning of the final, you said something really important, was that how much the water had moved in on the bank. And I do think that actually did catch Sarah Scott a little bit sort of off guard. She'd come out of that semi with momentum. We spoke about that's great to come out of a heat with the mental momentum. But then the whole playing field shifted underneath her by the time she'd paddled back out for the final.
Yeah, and I think that, that's where having someone like Greg Emsley in your corner who understands how things change, and also knowing Ballito, it came to Zoe's favor with Sarah. She focused on what she did right, which wasn't bad for a 15-year-old, but they're not taking into consideration that sandbank is going to change once we have water over it. So I think it's a great final to watch. I'm very stoked for Sarah Scott. But like you said, Zoe Steyn, cool, calm, collected, and even after taking a win, I mean, there wasn't even like a little woohoo. Just what she did, checking things out, also evaluating where she moved, noticing priority. I mean, her head's in the game, gigs, and it's going to be exciting to see what she does for 2022.
Let's have a look quickly at Zoe Steyn's road to the final here. She's been a top performer. We saw her name on a lot of those top five. When we printed the best 5 waves this morning, it was 4 of the best 5 waves. Of course, Sarah Scott basically getting into that top 5 list. But let's have a look at the road to the finals for Zoe Steyn. It's been a great visit to Ballito for not only winning the O'Neill Rookie Rippers, but just really from the start here, guys. She was on point. Her surfing is crisp. And this is that 983 PC. This will get you happy.
Yeah, no, great backhand surfing there. Really nice, hard off the bottom and hard off the top, and really rewarded nicely with that 983.
Of course, Zoe Steyn getting past Teal Hogg in the quarterfinals, and then, of course, waking up this morning to get a one-up over Heather Clark. But we look back, as we mentioned, she has been the consistent performer. I like it when you get a result like this, where the champion has been the best surfer through the draw and over the period of the event. Sometimes, as you say, you can have a kind of a soft result, and someone that really put their hand up in the opening rounds, kind of falls short. But this has been a great visit to Ballito for Zoe. Of course, this is the quarterfinals this morning. You see the wind now the opposite direction. And Tash, I mean, she really did stick it to Heather Clark in this one as well.
Yeah, she didn't let Heather bother her in any way and stuck to her guns. And I think that's where Zoe is so great, is once she commits to a game plan, she doesn't get frazzled by anything around her. She almost doesn't notice us in the water. I mean, the heats that I've shared with Zoe, it's like she's got blinkers on and she's just focused on what she needs to do every so often. I mean, you also notice she's not looking to the beach often to see where she needs to be sitting, where I saw in the earlier rounds a lot of the girls losing their focus by turning and facing their back to the waves to be able to see where they should be sitting.
And of course, it's a great, I just love the theme as well. Bianca Buitendach stepping out of competition, coming back this year with her Olympic participation, sharing the same coach as Greg Emsley. I mean, this is all good stuff for Zoe Stain's future.
Yeah, no, 100%. You can definitely see in Zoe's composure and her facial expressions, like you said, Tash, that's part of a bigger picture.
Yeah.
There's a bigger plan here, and this is not going to, satisfy her. She's got a much bigger plan here, and I definitely see a big future for her.
Great stuff. We're crowning a champion here at the Ballito Pro 2021. I believe PC and Tash, you guys will be on your way down to do that prize giving. Give an extra half to Zoe Stain. And, of course, a great, again, Sarah Scott making that final. And then, always a tip of the hat to Heather Clark getting all the way to the semis. And along with Sophie Bell, representing the locals. It's a great story as we wrap up the women's edition of the Ballito Pro.
Yeah, it's been great, and it's been great to have the women be focused just on themselves. So I think it was a good idea from the contest organisers to just focus on the women, give us some space to shine, and then focus on the men's going into the final few days of the Ballito Pro. But I'm so hopeful for what women's surfing in South Africa is going to do for next year and beyond. And it's fantastic to have the support from Kwadakuza Municipality, O'Neill, supporting our girls and seeing them rip.
And of course, PC, I see that extra big grin on your face, because as we wrap up the women's today, that'll be it. But tomorrow morning, we wake up with a fresh start, still 3 days of the Ballito Pro remaining. And it is a star-studded draw on the men's side of competition.
Yeah, I know. We got some great surfing coming up, and it's so cool. We can really cherry pick the conditions. We're going to run a few heats tomorrow, and then we got a great weekend lined up. Saturday is looking like a cracker day here, and then Sunday is looking great. So we're going to choose the best conditions over the 3 days and let these guys show us some great performances.
We're wrapping up the women's edition of the Ballito Pro 2021. We'll come back for our prize giving shortly. Paul and Tash, thanks so much for being part of it. And go down there, bust out the champagne. Well, and they're teenagers, are they allowed champagne? But anyway, we'll go crown our champions. And then, of course, we'll continue with the chat. We'll bring in Mark Frew on the booth. We'll take a quick ad break, and we'll be crowning our champion, Zoe Stain. Don't go anywhere.
You can never determine who you are by what you do. Because if it gets taken away, then who are you? Just stay true to who you are, and if they don't like it, stuff that.
When you break through boundaries and you get to that next level, it's an incredible feeling. High performance products give people an open mind about where they can go. Everything that O'Neill does is performance-based. They've pushed the innovation and the limit of what's possible in each generation. Jack invented the wetsuit basically through his love and wanting people to be able to experience the ocean for longer. Now people are able to spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in the water doing what they love and pushing themselves to new limits. I think it's extremely important for the people inside the company to be able to test these products, and they do. They live, eat, sleep, breathe these products. I think the most important thing about a wetsuit to me is its flexibility. TB3 just absolutely blew my mind. It was just so many leagues ahead of what I expected. I was in awe. I was warmer than ever, more flexible than ever. Everything that I'd worn before, till now, was just irrelevant. The bar's been set really high. I'm super excited to be able to see what's actually next. And where do they go? I mean, my mind's pretty baffled at the moment, but I mean, where do you go next?
This looks different.
It is. See for yourself.
Okay, so it's a photo.
Look closer. Photos within photos.
What about video?
8K video. Beyond cinema. You can pull portrait quality photos straight from video.
But will it last the whole trip?
Battery for the whole trip and the way back.
This is different.
Told you.
My circumstances do not define me, I define me.
man that changed the world. Well, the world that I know. That world, it's that plane that we as surfers occupy. That line between sea and sky, and we're held there by these invisible forces, fluid mechanics, surface tension, and that need for just one more. It binds us with a flat lock stitch. And it's that zone, that fluid seam between the ocean and the mountains. It's in those wild margins between high and low that we exist. I knew a man who was sharp, inquisitive. He'd want to know the where, when, how, why, not just the what. An adventurer who charted his own course through life. Like those Wednesday night sailing races in Santa Cruz when he'd cut across the kelp beds off Black's Point looking for that edge. But how do you map a man's life? How do you know him? Is it by the work he does? The man I knew was a child of the Great Depression, shaped by history, a locksman, lifeguard, salesman, sailor, flyer, fisherman, huckster, surfer, trailblazer. Is it by the cut of his cloth? The suit he wears? The guy I knew was jeans, flip-flops, button-down shirt, untucked, casual. But those suits he made us, oh, they changed everything. Forever. Yellow, blue, red, hot pink, classic black, and always summer on the inside. He had a love of the glide. Caught his first wave in 1934, body surfed it all the way to the shore. That set the hook. Learned to sail, learned to fly, launched his balloon on the evening winds out across the ocean on hope rather than expectation. He was a pioneer, sticking his flag in the sand, literally, a 40-foot driftwood pole.
It's been an amazing week of surfing. I think this is the 4th time we're on stage giving prizes to champions, and we're now going to focus on the women. So 2 days of surfing for just the girls. It's a QS 1000 event, and a big thank you to the World Surf League for being here, putting on this QS 1000 for the girls. It was an important event to end the year, but really go back into 2022 and start building on that campaign. And for myself, I'm just really stoked. We started with a round of 20. We moved straight into the round of 16. The girls have been able to surf onshore, smaller surf. We've now got offshore, cross-shore, with some bigger swell, and it's just very hopeful for women surfing in South Africa. So a big well done to everyone who took part. I'm going to hand over to Paul Canning, our brand manager for O'Neill South Africa, to say a few words, and then we're going to get the prize giving underway.
Oh, thanks very much, Tash. And yeah, I'd just like to say a massive, massive thank you to the Kwatakuza municipality. It's amazing to have competitive surfing back on. And after 2 years of no Ballito Pro, we've really jammed in a lot of surfing contests over the last couple of days. So thank you very much, every surfer, every competitive surfer. We're also stoked to be competing again. And I would also like to thank all our co-sponsors, all our partners in the Ballito Pro. It wouldn't be able to make such an incredible event without each and every one of you. And also to all the judges and officials, Anne Wright and Bongani Zulu, Surfing South Africa, WSL, thanks for all your hard work in the event. And also to all the girls, congratulations to Sarah and Zoe, incredible final there, and all the other girls that competed. Well done.
Okay, so let's move on to the important stuff here. If both girls can come up to the stage. So we see women surfing moving into a new era. And we see it here with these two finalists. 15 years old, 18 years old. So we're not allowed champagne, hey? No, but it really is just showing how women's surfing is growing, and this is a new era, and these are the future of surfing alongside some other girls. I just wanted to say personally, it's been fantastic to see what you girls have been doing out in the water. You've lifted that level of surfing, and you've inspired a lot of young girls, a lot of the Groms through the Rookie Rippers. And if you missed our O'Neill Smith Shapes Rookie Ripper Pro Junior, both these ladies were in the final. So back-to-back finals for both Sarah Scott and Zoe Steyn, and taking out that second position. So winning 6,000 Rand, some Oakley Frogskin sunnies, and valuable QS points, it is from Kommetjie, Cape Town, Sarah Scott. And we saw a great semi-final from Sarah, finding the highest wave score today, an 8.5. So Sarah, congratulations. She always knew it was going to be a hard task coming up against Zoe Steyn in the finals. And Zoe definitely being the most consistent female surfer out there. Starting this morning off, we saw Zoe holding 4 out of 5 of the top scores leading into this final day. After the semi-finals, it was 2 of the top scores from Zoe, 2 of the top scores from Sarah. So both these ladies definitely deserve to be in the final. But our 2021 Ballito Pro QS 1000 Women's winner, Zoe Steyn. You can make more noise. I couldn't hear that one. So Zoe Steyn, our QS 1000 winner, our JQS 1000 winner, and a great week here at the Ballito Pro. And just to let everyone know what Zoe walks away with. Valuable WSL QS 1000 points, 12,000 Rand for first prize. She wins an AES and Samsung phone valued at 3,000 Rand and a pair of Oakley Frogskins. So congratulations, ladies. You've done us all proud, and good luck for 2022 and beyond.
Well, great to see our 2 athletes on stage. Of course, a big thanks to Paul Canning and Tash Mentasti as well, who kind of walked through the whole process of the finals. And of course, no questions, Zoe Steyn, surfer of the week here, getting that win at the Rookie Ripper level, and then, of course, taking out the title. Gigsiliers now joined by Mike Frew from O'Neill, South Africa, and, of course, coach of Zoe Steyn, former championship tour surfer and Olympic silver medalist coach Greg Emsley. Gentlemen, just quickly to that final. From your point of view, you were kind of drilling into a couple of the beach questions there. We spoke of Sarah Scott off screen momentarily. A big result for a 15-year-old to make a final like that.
Absolutely, Gigs. And I actually forgot that it's her second final. They surfed against each other in the Pro Junior. Yep. So she would have had the experience of surfing that kind of heat against Zoe Steyn, but it looks like she had a strategy there to go and sit on the left. And to me, watching it from the beach, it crumbled throughout the heat. She looked a little panicked at the halfway stage, and then she saw Zoe get that really good wave, and it looked like she had to completely rechange her strategy and go and sit over there and play in the priority game, where Zoe went out and she stuck to her game plan from the beginning on the rights, and it worked out. So it looked like maybe a little bit of experience playing off for her there.
And of course, great to have Greg Emsley straight off the beach coaching Zoe. Thanks for your time, Greg. Just quickly, how Mike broke that down there in that final, change of conditions, and of course, a younger opponent. We spoke about that as well. But reading the conditions of ultimate importance, and I think you and Zoe had the right strategy going into that final.
For sure. We watched the tide over the last couple of days and how it's been changing between that left and right. So obviously the semi-finals were more on those lefts, and then we saw it filling in, and we saw a good couple of rights before the start of that final coming through, and we just went straight. It's back on that right. That's the spot to be. Let's stick to our guns. It's a good strength of Zoe's to hit those backhand turns. And even Sarah Scott with that 8.5 in the semi-finals was a backhand turns. So the judges enjoying those big backhand turns with lots of spray. It So we thought, let's stick to the strength, what the judges are looking for, and that was the game plan, pretty basic, and just try and build on that heat, which so he's been very good at, is setting a base and then starting to loosen up and try and put the hammer down as the heat progresses and build on those scores.
And of course, you went through that process of going to the Olympics back in August with Bianca Buitendach coaching all the way to a silver medal. We know Bianca's pedigree. She did those years on the championship tour. Is there elements of Bianca and working with Bianca that you're able to cross-reference to Zoe? Are they similar as individuals? Just talk us through that process quickly.
Yeah, I guess every athlete's different, so you've got to take each athlete for their own. You've got to try and read them and adjust your coaching to each athlete. But definitely a lot of similarities between the two of them, both goofy foots, both super quiet and humble, and both don't really like too much noise, too much spotting. They want the work to be done before the heat starts, so we try and get all the work done, and it's good for me because then I get to sit and watch and enjoy the final.
Great to get your thoughts, Greg MZ. And of course, Mike Frew, that wraps up women's surfing. Now things again heat up. We go into a whole new draw here in Ballito, the men's side of competition about to kick off. As we spoke about this extensively, over the course of the morning, Mark, is we've never had a summer edition of the Ballito Pro. We normally have, a July edition. So that's the one thing. Ballito's played along. But the big factor with this men's draw is that there's no internationals to pollute an all-South African performance. That's going to be a big opportunity for a lot of our local surfers.
Absolutely. I was chatting to Paul Canning the other day, and he said, a real dark horse could come through and win this event. Somebody that comes from complete left field, has a cracker run through the heats, and we find him in the final. It looks like, Gigs, we're going to have some great waves. The conditions have improved through the week on Friday, and we're going to see probably some of the best conditions we've seen over the 11-day period tomorrow and Saturday. And even though we're in summertime, when you would expect sort of punchy little 1 to 2 foot northeast waves, we're going to actually have a big groundswell tomorrow leading into Saturday, which is similar to winter conditions. So strip out the internationals, and we're going to find out who's the best South African out there.
Greg, a couple of last thoughts. We've got Geordie Smith in the draw. That's just a huge one. Normally this time of year, he's over in Hawaii. Of course, a restructured championship tour with a start in January allows Geordie Smith with O'Neill, and of course based in South Africa, a chance to be part of the draw. You've got Matt McGillivray, and then you've got that whole crop of junior guys that are all frothing. You've got Shane Sykes, fresh off a trip from Haleiwa and a SA Champs win. How are you seeing the next couple of days on the men's draw?
Yeah, of course, it's hard not to back Geordie or Matt for a win. They're going to be have little pressure and just be going absolutely mad out there. But don't underestimate someone very hungry wanting to knock off one of the big guys and claim that victory. And that it will be good. It's getting that taste for victory in an event like this is you're ticking the box, and that will lead to another big result and another big win. You learn how to win. So I'm hoping to see some fresh blood coming through. I'm hoping to say, hey, look at these guys, look at these semi-finals, quarterfinalists, look at these youngsters coming through. These are the guys that we're going to watch, and I hope to see a whole new crop of guys giving South Africa a lot of hope for the future.
Mark, you back that up? Are we looking at some new emerging talent? We've just seen it on the ladies' side.
I think we may, but as Greg was chatting there, I was thinking about the momentum that somebody like Shane Sykes is bringing into this event. Shane came back from Hawaii. He spent 56 hours on a plane. He had the best wave we've seen in the last 2 weeks in his free surf, a barrel that he got spat out of. He went straight into an SA Champs win. He's absolutely pumped. And I think for a guy like Shane, he's not a dark horse, but what a huge opportunity for him to win at his home break without all the internationals here. We know he has the talent to beat Geordie, given the right conditions. So I might go for the hometown guy. In terms of my pick for this event.
Wow.
Shane's like the new school Sean Holmes, isn't he?
Man, he's so powerful, Greg. I've watched him grow up in this area. I'm from Umhlanga, and he used to come and surf down there a lot. As he's toured around the world, he's become stronger. He's got bigger. He's very thick set on his board. And what a lot of the locals have been talking about is every time he comes back from Hawaii, he has more and more and more. And power. And we saw that in that very first wave that he had in the free surf. And that set the bar for Shane to take that SA Champs win earlier in this Ballito Pro.
And of course, there's the Cape Town element of talent as well. There's the Eli Bucas and that crew from that side of the country. So there is that push of talent on the men's draw. But, you know, as Greg is alluding to, you've got Geordie Smith in the draw, guys. I mean, I just want to spend another minute on that because this is Geordie's return to competition. This is his, you know, reboot back to the big stage. A multiple winner. We know his accolades. Twice runner-up on the championship tour. You know, it's everyone's favourite surfer in South Africa. You could argue that, and definitely around the world. So Geordie Smith, a massive draw card, but he's going to be setting the standard. And the boys, I don't think, are going to be too intimidated. They're going to want to chase that.
I was actually surfing that session when he hurt his leg, Gigs, and that was, I think, in early May this year, and I saw him sitting on the steps with that swollen knee. Then we were part of an O'Neill project where he caught his very first wave back on a soft top as part of a film we were doing for Surfers Not Street Children. I saw the stoke in Geordie's eyes. He came out, it was like he'd caught his very first wave, and he caught it on a soft top at New Pier. Then I saw a couple of videos drop of him progressing through his injury at J-Bay recently, and he's got some clips that he hasn't even dropped yet. I chatted to him yesterday, and he says that that knee is feeling stronger than the other one. The other thing that's just, you know, he brings so much star power to this event. I was walking down the walkway, and he's staying in a unit quite close to the beach, and I came around the corner, and even for me, I've been in sort of surfing for quite a while. I came around the corner, I was like, wow, there's Geordie Smith, and you realize this guy's in this event, and I can't imagine how those youngsters must feel getting to surf against him.
Mark Frew, care of O'Neill, Greg Emsley, former championship tour surfer, and now coach extraordinaire. We trust that you'll enjoy the men's draw as much as we are. Folks, when we come back tomorrow, it's Ballito Pro men's draw. We're looking forward to it. We're going to send you off with a package. Stay with us, enjoy the town of Ballito, and we'll see you all again tomorrow for more surfing action from the Ballito Pro. The final day at the Ballito Pro presented by O'Neill.